Welcome to the Pride of Detroit PODcast, prideofdetroit.com, Pride of Detroit on Twitter, Pride of Detroit on Facebook. Hey, we say it every time, you know where to find us because we're still outside banging the pots and pans. I don't know why we're banging pots and pans, but it makes a lot of noise. It pisses off the neighbors and gives attention to us, which is what we want on the Pride of Detroit PODcast, live now on twitch.tv/Pride of Detroit and on YouTube at youtube.com/at Pride of Detroit at symbol. It's the A with the circle around it. You should know what it is by now. You've been living on the internet forever. I'm Chris Perfett, the adequate host. You should know this as well, at Chris Perfett on Twitter. X, whatever the hell they call it. The dying embers of that platform. Joining me, as always, Jeremy Reisman, the fearless leader at Detroit Online. Hi, Jeremy.
What's up, Chris? How we doing?
My nose is itching like crazy, so I'm going to stop and pause and just kind of introduce you, and I was hoping for you to carry it a little bit.
Yeah. Well, hey, we're here breaking down another game, and that's exciting.
It is.
Because there's only one more of those to go before we're talking about real football games.
No, I don't find that game exciting, but I do find the idea of real football coming exciting.
Yes.
I also find the conversations we're going to have exciting, especially about guys like Hendon Hooker, Isaiah Williams. We've got a lot of places. There were a lot of clarity in this game, and we'll talk about that. But first, we got to bring in Ryan Matthews at Ryan_POD. Ryan, what are we looking forward to today? How are we attacking today?
Full faith in this man. Full faith in this man.
Which one?
Batesy.
Ryan is referring to a clip that was just posted on Twitter.
Oh,
to ensure that only 10 people gets his reference. It was Khalil Dorsey, I think.
Yeah.
Staring directly into. I'm sorry.
Roster lock, Khalil Dorsey.
Oh,
go ahead.
Okay, we'll get to that. But he's staring like down the barrel of a camera on the sideline, and be like, I'm not even gonna watch. Like I trust this man. I trust this man. As Jake Bates lines up for the game-winning field goal. Then he
kicked it through, and he goes, full faith in this man.
You just have to be careful, though. If you go full Jeremy Shockey, it can live in infamy.
You know what?
You never want to go full Jeremy Shockey.
or what was his name for the Lakers? I always forget his name.
Lamar Odom?
No.
The guy who turned around and did the freeze when the ball ran out.
Swaggy P.
Swaggy P. Thank you, Jesus. I am so sorry I've done this. But let's just rip the Band-Aid right off. I had quarterbacks first, but I want to go to Hendon. Let's just go to Jake Bates. Let's go to the man of the hour. Let's go to the kicker. We get it out of the way to make Jeremy happy. And by the way, before we begin, though, just want to let people know POD 20 is live. And you have about 4 or 5 more weeks to go get it. So go get it. Anyway, Jake Bates. So after it looks like we were just going to have a bit of a mixed bag on Jake Bates missing the PAT, he went out and just nailed the game winner. Now, game winner doesn't mean much in preseason, but I'm sure I can tell you this, that the pressure on him to nail the game winner was absolutely there, especially coming off the missed PAT. We also can't forget he hit another one earlier in the game. I think, what was that first one from Jeremy again?
I think he made 3 in total.
He made 4. He made 4. Yeah. Long of 55 in the game.
Yeah, right. The 55-yarder.
So he was busy. I know, however, some people really wanted to, before that game winner, talk about the PAT. So I guess the best way to describe this is, Jeremy, it's not, and we'll get to the question later about whether Lions have a lock on the kicker, but how much stock can you put in the missed PAT versus everything good he did outdoors in Kansas City with a long of 55 and a game winner on his resume?
I mean, you can't block out either. It's all part of the Jake Bates equation. The 55-yarder is part of the equation. The game winner under a real pressure situation is part of the equation. Missing an extra point, which, if I'm doing my math correctly, including training camp, that's either his 3rd or 4th missed extra point this offseason since August. That's part of the equation. And it's kind of emblematic of what we've seen from Jake Bates really since he's been in town. And it's frustrating on my end because we're so used to this being automatic in this city, extra points at least, and certainly some 40 and under field goals. But I don't know. I'm torn. Like, first of all, I think he's in. Like, I think the Lions are going to roll with it. I think there's very little that can happen over the next 2 practices and the final preseason game for them to change their mind on him. I think him nailing that game winner was huge to Dan Campbell. In fact, he said it was huge after the game in getting a little bit of faith in him. But there's going to be inaccuracies along the way. There's going to be bumps in the road. There are going to be misses that he shouldn't miss. And every kicker has misses that he shouldn't miss. And I do think there needs to be some leeway for a young kicker who has not kicked a lot of field goals in his football career. I think he will get better. The question is, will he do enough damage early in the season that it affects a game? And I can't confidently say the answer to that is no.
But I mean, we'll get to Ryan in a second, but just real quick to punt it right back to you. Because it did seem like he knew he was like kicking from the wrong. He knew what he did wrong on that PAT almost immediately. He was like, I probably kicked it thinking was the wrong hashes or something like that. And he seemed to like get that and like really kind of correct himself. Do you factor that in at all? Or is that just still a mistake is a mistake?
Doesn't make the kick any less good, any better. I mean, you can't ever. I would imagine most kickers know what they did wrong right after they kicked it. So no, that doesn't factor in. Right. You got to be consistent.
Got to be consistent. Okay, let's talk about Jake Bates for a second. As we have been, there were, I think I'm counting it right, 9 kickers last year who were perfect at PATs. League average, you're kicking about 96%. So like you're making all of them but one. If we're going by, hey, in training camp plus the game in Kansas City, we're talking about like what, 3-4 extra points missed. Now you've got 2 big field goals, 53 and 55, one in bad weather, right? 155. I mean, pretty impressive.
Both outdoors.
Yeah. Would you rather have a kicker who is below average, slightly below average at PATs, but can hit 50-yarders, or would you rather have a guy who is hitting all their extra points, but is very inconsistent from 50 yards and out?
It's a good question. It's a good question. This football team's going to kick a lot. Is going to kick a lot of extra points. I'm going to tell you that.
Well, I will say this. I do like the idea of I know Dan Campbell is not a fan of field goals. I know he preferred to go for the throat, but it does make the option a lot more appeasing when you have a guy, Ryan, who can hit from 50 yards out quite regularly and quite confidently like that. I think it solidifies things.
It's definitely an asset. And the thing is, I think all of us, I can say this with confidence, I think we feel better about Jake Bates than we felt at the beginning of training camp, right?
Oh, yeah. There was like plenty of concern to go around. There was a lot more talk of Michael Badgley. And then when Badgley goes out, then he starts to really get into trouble at practice and we're starting to talk about bringing in other kickers and things of that nature. And I think, though, the preseason games, the inaction games, each time he goes out there when it's actual live reps, he does seem to settle in.
Yeah, I would say I certainly feel better than after the Badgley injury. I was hoping for better out of Bates in all of this offseason. But again, like I do want to reiterate the point that kickers can develop. And yes, I think he's very much in that developmental phase here in Detroit where he's learning things from his holder, from the punter, from his coaches. I think there's a level of patience that the Lions have purposely given him because they think he can get better. And let's hope they're right.
Well, speaking of patience, shall we talk about Hendon Hooker, the other star of the show yesterday?
Sure.
Now, I didn't get to see much of Hendon Hooker, unfortunately, because I was driving. And I've been trying to go back and catch everything I can. But Jeremy, I hate to do preseason stats, but I'm going to go preseason stat line on a quarterback on 12 for 15 for 150 yards, tally and a rushing touchdown. Not just that, but I think Hendon Hooker showed poise. He showed a lot less of the jitters he's had. We cannot forget the I'm not sure what to do with the high snap that turned into a fumble. I'm not sure what really to do with that. I'm not sure if it was advised to try to like hurry and rush the snap off the way he did.
Yeah.
But other than that, there wasn't a lot of bad to write home on Hendon Hooker. I'm not saying anyone should start thinking about him as a future starter or anything like that, but I think we've been kind of sitting around. And honestly, I did not. Nate Sudfeld is Nate Sudfeld. I'm not going to like put down the guy at all. And I think there were a couple of decent throws Nate Sudfeld made in this game, but I think we got to see a lot more of performances from offensive players with Hendon Hooker running this offense. And I think you also saw what it's a little bittersweet because I think you also saw what Hendon Hooker could have probably been in the NFL if he hadn't had that injury coming out of college as well. Like this was a guy who was in line for Heisman stuff, who was in line for a lot more, and now he's probably a quarterback 2 on the Lions roster. But still, you see interest in Hendon Hooker. You see stuff that makes you intrigued, and you see him running through progressions a little bit better, I would say, and working the offense much more comfortably.
Yeah, I think a lot of things were different about this game that helped him. I think the offensive line was really, really good in this game for both quarterbacks. So he was able to stand in the pocket comfortably for a long time. I think we saw some receivers get open in the second half, but I don't think any of that takes away from what Hooker actually did, which was go through his progressions, find the open guy, stay comfortable in the pocket instead of, maybe your first read isn't there, maybe your second read isn't there. And your default isn't, let me go scramble for 8 yards and try to lower my shoulder on a dude. He delivered mostly accurate balls. It was a little scary when he got off to Mystery's Fountain by like 5 yards in a wide open, there was a defender in his face, but not close enough where it should have impacted the throw. But he rebounded in a big way. And I'm with you. I don't think, the amount of people that are like, I don't want to ever see Nate Sudfeld in my face again. It's just like, you guys got to calm down. Like, this guy is he's not the worst quarterback in the world. He's not even the worst quarterback playing on in the preseason right now. But, the question to me is whether, because I think everyone will agree that Hendon Hooker will eventually be a better quarterback than Nate Sudfeld, and that moment might already be here or very close. But what I found really interesting in the post-game, Dan Campbell kind of talking about just like the little mental errors, and like one thing that he's happy about progressing with Hendon Hooker is just the getting the play call and getting it to the players and that sort of thing. And like, I think that's a good reminder of just how far Hendon Hooker has had to come. It's like that very basic thing of getting the play, understanding it, delivering that information to the huddle is something that he needed to work on. And we don't see that on game day, right? Like, we pay attention to everything that happens after the huddle. It's where he's standing. It's his stance. It's his throwing motion. It's his accuracy. It's getting sacked, all that sort of stuff. But like, that very basic thing is pretty damn important. And so that's why I think, like, if there's a shot that Sudfeld somehow manages to keep the backup job early in the season, it's based on that information. It's based on like the very basic stuff that Hendon Hooker is still getting better at. You need someone to be able to do the bare basics, get the play in on time so that you don't. One of the mistakes that I think it was Hendon in this game made was like the clock was running out. Maybe it was Sudfeld. I actually think it was Sudfeld.
No, it was Hooker. It was in the fourth quarter. It was a 3rd and 1.
Yes.
He broke the huddle late.
Yes,
they ran
right.
up.
Yeah.
They ran right up against the play clock, and it definitely affected everything.
The whole play was rushed. Hendon's internal clock was off, and like that's something that you can't have on I gotta have it down. And so, listen, I'm with everyone. I think Hendon Hooker is going to be a better quarterback. I think in general it makes more sense if you want Nate Sudfeld to be your backup early in the season to cut him first, bring him back on the practice squad because he's a veteran. He doesn't have to go through waivers. You just tell him, hey, you're going to be our backups for the first 2 weeks. Stick with us when we cut you. Please don't sign anywhere else. You bring him back on the practice squad. You elevate him for the first couple weeks while Hendon Hooker is still working out those kinks, and then you keep him on the practice squad the rest of the year. Simple as your emergency quarterback, and you can bring your emergency quarterback up as many times as you want. That to me makes the most sense.
It does make a lot of sense. The only thing that I want to put an exclamation point on is there was the throw that was a tad high that you mentioned to Fountain. After that, Hooker went 11 for 12
Yeah.
for 136 yards and a 7-yard rushing touchdown. The thing that stood out the most to me about the 7-yard rushing touchdown was it wasn't, you know, ball gets snapped, I'm looking to run. It was ball gets snapped, I'm looking at my reads, and then I'm making a play.
Yep.
And that was great. It's awesome to see that type of progression. I'm right there with you though when it comes to just sort of the functionality of being a quarterback, right? Like delivering the message, relaying the things, being on time. It's the consistency thing. I think that's going to come with reps, but I think also it's a great point to say, hey, you give him an extra couple weeks with, the roster, kind of, voodoo that you can work with Sudfeld coming back. And I'm feeling much better about Hendon Hooker a week later.
So let me ask you, looking to preseason game 3, just yes, no question real quick, because we got a lot more to get to. Hendon Hooker, would you like to see him in the first half, or is this going to continue instead of this second half thing we've been doing?
No, you got to give him the start. Let's see him go against some. I mean, I presumably who I don't even know who the Lions play. Who do they play?
The Steelers? Is
That
it?
sounds
Steelers,
right.
yes,
Yeah.
Steelers.
I don't know if
Yeah.
the Steelers are going to play their starters or not, but at least get him going up against 2. So absolutely play him. Start him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Have him play whenever Justin Fields has played the last drive, just so that I can get like a context,
There you go.
like a side by
I don't
side.
need I don't need context. I know he's probably better than Justin Fields. Anyway, let's move on. So there's a lot of I think this game, if nothing else, and we're going to talk about Sione Vaki later, but he's low drama at this point. We know he's going to make the roster. I think what we want to talk about right now are some guys who boy, what do you do with these guys? It's the guy. It's this thing you hear about preseason. He's made it really hard for the team to cut him. And I think this game, Jeremy Ryan, brought up a few names and a few performances here against a defending Super Bowl champions depth, where you're just like, and even some starters, I will say, where the defense is concerned, and we're going to talk about DBs in a second in that front, but I think none exemplify this further than the performance of Isaiah Williams, who I learned is on Wikipedia. You know how Wikipedia sometimes a common name, they have to put in parenthetical what they do?
Yeah.
Well, it's not just that for Isaiah Williams, parenthetical wide receiver. It's Isaiah Williams, parenthetical wide receiver, comma, born 2001.
There's more than one Isaiah Williams.
Yes, there's been another Isaiah Williams wide receiver. Yes, there has been. But 71 yards, 6 of 8 on the receptions. Ryan, I don't know if anyone had a bigger game. I know Caden Davis had the really electric touchdown catch and everything, but Isaiah Williams was the one I think most fans were enamored with. So I guess we've been talking about this the last few weeks about what do the Lions do past wide receiver 3, and do they even have anyone? You're waiting for Donovan Peoples-Jones or Maurice Alexander or even Antoine Green to show up and show you something. And here's Isaiah Williams showing you something. So I guess, has this helped him in his pursuit? Is there even a question? Or is there just no room on the roster?
It's really hard for what the guy does. And Jeremy and I talked about it on First Bite, but it's like, what's your role plus what extra stuff do you do? And with Isaiah Williams, when you look at the quote unquote extra stuff he did, it's one of those things where, hey, you don't want to try to make too much out of nothing. And that was the punt return where he fumbled the ball and luckily CJ Moore landed on it. But he's just so redundant. And it's not even just he's redundant because he's mostly a slot guy. He's redundant because, yeah, the extra things you do, punt return, well, that's Cleve Raymond. So Cleve Raymond does everything that you do. It's just it's an unfortunate circumstance for a guy who's having an awesome preseason, to the point where I'm almost kind of at the point of like, position be damned. None of these other guys are stepping up and doing anything to make me say, oh, I can keep Darius Fountain because he's big. I can keep Donovan Peoples-Jones because they made a trade at the deadline. And I'm gonna allow myself to Trinity Benson myself away with Donovan Peoples-Jones because of a sunken cost fallacy.
Right.
Like none of these other guys are doing anything. It's gonna be Isaiah Williams until proven otherwise.
I'm with you. It's really tough because first of all, like I think we all have to take a step back and recognize that the fourth quarter wide receiver racking up stats happens every year, and I realize Isaiah Williams played some in the first half, but most of his production came in the second half. We're talking about like the Khalil Pimpletons, the Tom Kennedys, where they excel given what they do because slot receivers will just burn the crap out of CB5, CB6, CB7. Not trying to take anything away from Isaiah Williams. I think he has a valuable asset. I think he could be a good backup slot receiver in this league, and I think it could even be here. But when Dan Campbell is asked, like, hey, what do you think is, do you put a lot of faith into a statistical performance like this? He even brings it up. He says, we put a lot of stock into guys who are making plays, and he does. That's in the slot where he really excels. That's where his game is really suited for, and he's made the most of it. That's what's hard. He's a football player, and he's making plays. We have Saint. We have Leaf. So where does that fit? It's hard. I don't know. I get why everyone's excited about him. I get why everyone is wringing their hands if we can't cut this guy. He's going to go somewhere else and be great. But what is he going to do here? He does not have a special teams rep this preseason that isn't either kick returner or punt returner, and neither of those jobs are open for him. And so what does he do on game day? Are you going to add him to the list of guys that are inactive every week? Because you already have Giovanni Manu on that list. You're eventually going to have some injured players. Is Isaiah Williams just going to sit on the 53 and be inactive every week? That's not doing it's not doing him any good. It's not doing you any good. And so it's tough. I'm close. I'm close to being like, screw it. There's no one else. There's no X receiver on this roster. So why not just keep your four best? Like, that's all there is. We'll talk about Caden Davis in a second, and I think he deserves a legitimate discussion too. But part of me is like, let's keep 4 for now. Find your X receiver or someone, for God's sakes, who can play on the outside, because as much as I love Isaiah Williams and as much as I think they're going to try him out there a little bit, and he played a little bit on the outside on Saturday, I don't think that, Dan Campbell said it himself, that's where his game is at the slot. So you're putting a guy in a position he's not comfortable with just in order to justify his position on the roster. That doesn't make any sense to me. So maybe you initially make him on the roster, and then once you get your X receiver, Isaiah's the first one off, and then you hope to bring him back on the practice squad, because if he's not doing anything on your roster, then you're wasting the roster spot.
Well, let's talk about Caden Davis, and not even on the because one thing I did write down is that I went back and I looked at Caden Davis, and I saw that he played quite a bit on special teams for the Michigan Panthers back in 2023. He had something like over 300 like return yards. There's plenty of room, and like, again, those spots are kind of taken. But if you're talking about making the roster, I don't know if his final line was great. Like, he got targeted quite a bit, Jeremy, but really the only big play he had was the pull in, and to his credit, hitting the quarter there very well.
Yeah.
But at 6'1" or so, like, he does feel like a guy who I'd like to see more playing, maybe in preseason game 3, getting some more looks on special teams to see if he could be a one to really fit this roster. And I guess again, we're kind of churning the bottom here, trying to find one guy who stands out.
Yeah.
But I'm throwing that out there.
The thing about Caden Davis that almost makes me more willing to put him on the roster than Isaiah Williams is that this has been consistent with him since he landed in Detroit as a tryout in rookie minicamp. He makes plays almost every single practice, and he got the bump. Like, both him and Isaiah Williams got some play with the starters, right? Like, that's important. That says something. It was Caden Davis and Donovan Peoples-Jones on the outside, where you had Tom Kennedy as your one slot, and then Isaiah Williams came in after that. And so Caden Davis can play the outside a little bit more. He's more Z than he is X, unfortunately. So he'd be backing up J-Mo, essentially. But he's 6'1". Like, that's a step in the right direction. He doesn't win with his physicalness, unfortunately, and that's what you're looking for in that X receiver that's, right up to the line, that's going to get press man coverage. That's not his best asset, but he's making plays, and he's a little bit more of a fit into what they're looking for. He's not a great fit, but he's a little bit more of a fit. And so I think people are underselling how difficult he's making their decision. Like, everyone's focused on Isaiah Williams. I think Caden Davis has a legitimate case too. The problem is you want Donovan Peoples-Jones to make a case. You want anyone else that fits that kind of X receiver to make that case. Even Maurice Alexander, I think he's a guy that we don't talk about a lot, and kind of understandably so. He muffs one punt and fumbles another, and hasn't had a lot of production.
We're going to talk about overall special teams performance later because, man.
And I don't know what happened to Darius Fountain. Like, that looked like it was his job to lose 2 weeks ago, and then he fell off the face of the earth. And so, I don't know, maybe Katie Davis, maybe.
Just my 2 quick notes about it. 2 plays that don't show up on the box score for either receiver. But for Isaiah Williams, there was a rep where he ran a double move and got so much separation that Nate Sudfeld just sailed the ball and missed the throw so bad.
Yeah.
It just shows me his short area route running ability and his ability to get separation, because that's what he did really well. I'm looking at his RAS, like his shuttle score, great. His 3-cone, great. Like, can get open in a phone booth. With Caden Davis, there was a play where he was coming across the middle, and Golden Tate talked about it on the broadcast, but he doesn't recognize that it's zone coverage. So he's just running this drag route. He's not feeling that there isn't anybody on him because they're playing back and playing zone on a 3rd and 6.
Yeah.
Sudfeld throws him the ball, and Caden Davis isn't even looking for it. He's just running his drag across, the middle of the field. So those kind of things stand out to me, though, where it's like, okay, I can see how Isaiah Williams wins. Caden Davis, great catch, takes a ton to run 40 some odd yards to score a touchdown. I'm not taking anything away from that, but Isaiah Williams has been the more impressive receiver to me, and you just take your best players.
We'll keep this one short. I really wish we didn't have to keep it short, but let me ask you just real quick. Zonovan Knight, can he make the roster, Ryan?
No, it was just too much ahead of him. And I think if you're keeping, it's interesting because if you're keeping a guy like Isaiah Williams, it's like, okay, well, you got to make concessions elsewhere. Yeah. And it feels like really uphill climb for Zonovan Knight.
I also think that in spite of the performance he had in this game, he had a couple of nice runs, Ryan, Jeremy, but I think if we take nothing else out of this game, is Sione Vaki is farther along than we anticipated. And that's that I think probably keeps
it's part of the math.
Knight off the 53.
It's tough because I'm very tempted to keep a 5th running back. I think the top 4 are set in stone with Vaki, Reynolds, Jameer, and Dave Montgomery. But they have a talented set of running backs. Jamar Jefferson was in a very good spot to potentially be RB5, and now, he's, I guess, dealing with an injury. We don't really know why he hasn't practiced or played in a week. But running back is one of those positions where, we've been talking about new kickoff rule and what positions are going to be highlighted. I think running back is one of those. And if you're not keeping a QB3, if you're not keeping a wide receiver 5, if Christian Mahogany starts on the non-football illness list, you're going to have a little bit of an extra spot to play around with. And I'm not putting Jefferson or Zonovan necessarily in the roster right now, but I'm also not counting it out. I know 5 running backs seems extra, and it is, but I think you can find game day roles for those guys on special teams. So that's where they have to win.
You have to count Parker Hesse in the running back equation.
Yeah, fullback.
What you also have to count in the equation is Righteous Felon Craft Jerky and meat snacks, which fuel the Pride of Detroit POD cast. They are officially back. Jeremy handed out some of that sweet meat money this week. which means I now have meat money to give it right back to Righteous Felon and go take advantage of a new 20% off promo code, which we'll talk about in a second. You might already know it, but let's tell you about Righteous Felon Craft Jerky, because we don't just shill it just because they give us money. We shill it because it's damn good meat. Each 2-ounce bag of jerky has 16 to 20 grams of protein. Each stick has 8 grams. Righteous Felon is based in Westchester, Pennsylvania. They use locally sourced all-natural Black Angus beef, prides themselves on superior quality, revolutionary branding, and unique flavors that go beyond the stereotypical jerky offering, like probably my favorite, Truffalo Bill. I don't know any other company out there, Ryan, that puts truffles, like the kind of mushrooms you got to train pigs to dig up. Those truffles, puts truffles on their meat jerky.
I mean, there's just so much innovation there across the board. Maryland Monroe, right?
Crab spice. I'm not even big on crab spice, but I can appreciate it.
You can appreciate variety. Who can't appreciate variety? Jeremy, can you not appreciate variety?
All I do is appreciate variety.
Then
you
appreciate
spice of life.
Righteous Felon.
Yeah, the biltong. I know Jeremy's always a fan. What is it? Darth Garlic.
Yeah, and that biltong is like it's almost like a buttery texture. It's so good.
Stringy. Yeah. But hey, we're going to help you out a little bit. We're going to help you out some more because we love this meat. And we want to let you love this meat too. So from now through NFL Week 2, I believe, we have a special promo code up there. We usually give you POD 15, but they're cranking it up. They understand football's going to come back. You need to stock up on this. Take 20% off your order. Go to righteousfelon.com. Use the promo code POD20 at checkout. That'll get you 20% off your order. We have usually a 15% off around the board, but trust me, 20% off, it goes a long way. Helps you stock up. You're going to need it for the football season because it's protein, Ryan. It'll keep you going.
Greatest ability.
Availability. That's promo code POD20 at righteousfelon.com. POD20. We'll be right back on the Pride of Detroit PODcast to talk about tight ends and what's going on with special teams and edge rushers. Okay. Hello, everyone.
I just didn't know if there was going to be a we'll be right back type of thing at the end of that.
I kind of lilted up, and I don't usually do that. I know.
No, that's okay. Ooh, I'm sweaty. What's up, everybody? So I made the executive decision to turn off alerts during the recorded show. That is going to be, I think, a permanent change. And we'll still obviously shout out all the alerts, but if you're wondering why your alert didn't show up on the screen and the
you can just kill the audio part of the alerts.
I could. Maybe that's the play.
That is absolutely the play. Just turn off the audio on the alerts.
But it had gotten to a point where it was maybe even bothering me on the playback. So we'll maybe I change my mind eventually, but that's what we're gonna go with for now. But in the meantime, let me get to a bunch of those alerts and thank all the peoples. Really quick, let me scroll down. Mr. Big Shot, thank you for following us. Yevitz.
Who do you think you are? Sorry.
Mr. Big Shot. You never got up. All right. 36 months from Yevitz, which is 3 years. Crazy. Appreciate your support for all those years.
Crazy.
Lord, are we just turning this into
Twitch sings?
I might be crazy. Oh, actually,
boy.
I need to write that down.
Are you trying to hit Steven Tyler notes right now?
No, that was
or Gnarls Barkley.
Gnarls Barkley.
I was trying to do Gnarls Barkley.
What's his name?
CeeLo Green.
CeeLo Green, that's right.
Yeah.
Twitch chat in a nutshell. David Lunch says, thanks for the alerts off. Much appreciated. JP is me silencing the people as always.
Ooh, real sticktator behavior.
Good friend Lord Goofa, 27 months subscribed to the channel, says this information enriches my life. That's what we're here for. To enrich the people. Good friend Dan Pask, 38 months subscribed to the channel, says, could Vaki open the door to rugby or Aussie rules footy players with upright running style? Go Lions.
Go Loins.
No, is my answer, because I don't want to start looking into rugby and Aussie rules football players. Also, I don't think his upward running style is what the Lions want. I'll say, like, I don't know if we're going to talk more about Vaki later or not.
We will.
But I think people should pull back the excitement just a little bit because we already knew
Like,
he was.
Craig Reynolds is in front of him too, guys.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Also, he's great as a receiver, and I think we knew that going in, particularly because of his slot receiver background in high school. Running between the tackles is still something he very much needs to work on, and I'm not saying he's horrible at it. He's okay, but I think in terms of his reads, I think in terms of, his pad level, I think all that stuff needs to be better. And I think the Lions will be the first. I mean, you listen to the way they talk about Vaki, it's like, yeah, great receiver, still needs to learn a lot. Let me pull what Dan Campbell said. I know you said we were going to talk about Vaki. Now I'm saying it all now, but
yeah, but like it's good practice.
Let me see.
Well, while you look for that, the one thing I will say that I really do like, and he needs to do more of, and it's part to do with that decisiveness that you're talking about when he's, finding the hole and hitting the hole. And when he puts his foot in the ground and makes a move upfield on like one cut,
Yeah.
one cut go, right? Like put your foot and get upfield and get vertical. When he does that, he's at his best. It's when there's not a lot going for him at the line of scrimmage. There isn't, and I'm not trying to compare him to Gibbs or Montgomery or anything, but like he's not breaking through that hole like Montgomery. He doesn't have the wiggle that, Gibbs has. I'm not saying that that'll never come, but they're different athletes, right? But I'm just saying that you kind of have to have a plan for that. And right now it doesn't seem like he's operating with much of a plan, but that can all come in time. Like you need reps. He had 40 something carries in college.
Right. And all this, and it was awesome to see him play almost an entire half of football, right? Like that is all valuable stuff. But like, here's Dan Campbell.
2-minute drill was awesome.
It was great.
Like,
it was super fun.
Here, Vaki.
Here's what Dan Campbell had to say, and I'm cutting a little bit into the middle of his quote, but I'm not cutting out any important context. He says, "We already felt like this kid is going to have the ability to play special teams. Well, now it's like, can we use him on offense? He's a lot further along in that part of the game than carrying the football. A lot of that is really because he hasn't done it. Taking the carries, vision on the play, the cuts, the reads, all of that. But in the pass game, I thought he stepped up. So, I mean, like, it couldn't be more clear. Like, he's great on special teams, good in the pass game. Run game is still very much a work in progress, which is all understandable. And I'm not trying to bury the kid. And I think that stuff is going to come, right?
Yeah.
Because like Brad Holmes said, like, it doesn't look bad out there. He doesn't look completely lost. But like Brad Holmes said, like if it's looking that good and he's not, what does he say? He hasn't mastered in it or whatever. He didn't. Mm-hmm. I don't think he used that term. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I can't remember either.
He didn't. Whatever. But once he does, I think that's going to start looking a lot better. And so his ceiling, I mean, it's hard to say when you're 1 and 2 are so good, but like RB3 is certainly in the mix. I think this year, maybe something beyond that after, but I think you're getting a little hopeful beyond that.
Yeah. I still like there's just Craig Reynolds, and Craig Reynolds has been doing it for too long to like just, give it up. Or I think for the coaching staff to just say, hey, like, Vaki's going to be active on game day most of the time, I would say.
Yeah.
Like between special teams and just emergency running back availability.
No question.
Like he's going to be active on game day more often than he won't be. It's just that Craig is a guy they trust. And one of my favorite parts of week 2, though, Chris, did you see Vaki lose his entire face mask?
I did.
At the end of the first quarter.
I don't know how that got ripped off, but
I still haven't seen how that happened either.
Very carefully.
Yep. Moving on.
Dang it.
Yeah. Sorry, I was momentarily distracted. I kind of hate this time of year because I hate I hate how hard it is to make these rosters.
Yeah.
I hate the process, seeing guys go through this stuff. And my friend
It's a
sent me
lot
video.
different than it has been.
Well,
in a long time.
not just for, but I'm not talking just for the Lions. I'm talking about
Okay.
across the entire NFL.
Oh,
Like
gotcha.
because I was watching this one. There is this punter named Drew Chrisman out of Ohio State. My friend sent me the video. I was watching it. He does these very well produced videos. I'll link it to you guys in the Slack, or I can put it in like Twitch chat or something. But like, he's a punter, and he went with the Commanders to try out. He's got a very nice, very well produced video of like his entire process of like, going to DC, trying out breakfast, going there, doing all the practices, kicking, getting, videos with guys and post workout meals, and like a whole, and like a weighing decision. It's just a quick punter tryout. And then a minute into it, it's just like, yeah, we're just, no, we don't. No, thanks. And then it's him going home on the flight back to his kid back home. Like that. Those emotions are what I fucking hate about this time of year. And I hate sometimes that, I'm not saying we're doing it, but we kind of are, and everyone kind of does, on how blasé we get with these guys, their careers, and like making these rosters. It's why I've never liked this time of year, because I feel like a bit of someone up on a perch, making decisions about dudes who I've never met. And I genuinely, like, I know my friend Jonas Knox, like, hates calling for coaches' jobs because he understands, like, at the end of the day, that's a human element to it. But likewise, I hate talking about the roster because of this human element.
Yeah. No.
Even Josh McDaniels? You don't feel bad calling for Josh McDaniels' job? Or Matt Patricia's job?
I didn't say I agree with Jonas on that front.
Oh, yeah. No. I think the only thing that brings me, because I agree with you, Chris, like there's a human component to this. It's nothing personal. Like, we're talking strictly based on football ability. Right. Like, we're not saying like he doesn't have what it takes. Like that, you won't hear things like that ever come out of our mouths. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I'm not asking you guys to defend yourself on it.
No, I'm not. I'm just offering I'm offering just the alternative. Like, that I think about it that way. Like, if we're talking about being up on a perch, it's like, I'm on a perch, but I'm watching football and I'm just saying what I see when people are playing football.
And it's to me, it's about, forgive the turn of phrase here, it's about a certain level of decorum when you're talking about this sort of stuff, right? Like, you can say, listen, I don't think he's good enough to make the 53 roster. You don't have to, like, when the Lions announce that they're cutting Nate Sudfeld, like, praise Jesus, like that, like, come on. Like, we're better than that.
Yeah. But again, like, if you guys can look this up, it's on Twitter at like D Chrisman, no, like CR, like my name, Chris, and then man 91. And it's just it's a fun watch. It also just will slam you in the feels. The right way too. He's not moping at the end too. He's like, he's hopeful at the end and everything too. It's a punter trying to make the team, but still, it's just.
And the thing is,
just, like, I was watching that while you guys were talking, and it just kind of like threw me off track. I apologize, but like, it was just kind of giving me the emotions for a second.
The thing too is, like, that is happening 4 times a day. At least, like,
in every camp,
players are being brought in for tryouts, and they're told, I mean, you're probably bringing in 1 out of 5 guys on a tryout. The rest are just getting flown back home and never see that team again. It's why I've always appreciated and loved that something like Hard Knocks exists, because at least you get a little bit of that human element. That happens to 30 guys on every team every single year. And we only get to see it for one franchise and the 3 guys that they've decided are quirky enough to cover on the show. That's it.
Yeah, and like I've heard some people at my work, at my other jobs, trying to say that, like, Hard Knocks is getting a little samey, but like, I think that reminder every year of that nature is important.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's important to, like, just the end of the day that I don't know. And as far as I see, so you can't tell me you weren't making some kind of thanks to some entity when Patricia was fired, though. I consider Patricia a very special case, considering my other problems with the man that we've talked about. But also, I don't think I ever called for Patricia to be fired. We pointed out a lot that he was bad. He was really bad. But I don't know if there was, outside of like the news incident we talked about when he first got hired that we were necessarily talking about.
We don't really do that at Pride of Detroit. We don't call
Yeah.
for people's jobs very often. It's happened in the past, but in general, it just generally speaking,
we've had some mad moments of fire
Sure.
everybody every now and then, but it's never directed at one person, one quarterback, one defensive coordinator, one head coach, anything, because that's where it starts to get personal.
Yeah.
I definitely wrote an article about why like it was time to move on from Jim Caldwell after the Bengals game.
Yeah.
But like again, it was like football stuff. Like it was the stuff that he did on the field. Jim Caldwell, awesome human being. Like just seemed like the most polite person in the building.
Still, I would love to interview him. Still, I would
Yeah.
love to have him on the podcast and talk with him.
Yeah,
Pulled his feet to the fire about not going for it on 4th and 1 against Dallas.
No, I just want to ask about the 2 watches. I want to know why
2 watches.
why 2 watches. Like, what was
Is
one watch
something
for?
that-
Yeah,
What was
that's-
the other one watch for?
that's-
I just want to know.
Me too. That would be my first question. Yep.
Yeah.
Not holding 8-year-old, 10-year-old. God, 10-year-old.
It's been 10 years.
Yikes. All right, let me get to some more alerts here, and then we'll talk about whatever you guys want to talk about for a couple more minutes before we get back into the show. LJB Ruff, 100-bit says Bates won't matter because Goff and Ben Johnson will be orchestrating touchdown drives. Extra points, though, dude. Are we gonna as?
I would rather go for 2 points.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I would
as
rather-
Eric,
I
Eric
would
Schlitt
rather-
suggested maybe we go the Steelers routes when they had that one year where they were just going for 2 all the time. I don't know why they stopped.
I was going to say, if one thing's going to change, if it's less going for it on 4th downs or less 2-point conversions, I'd rather say I'm fine with field goals, and I'd rather go for more 2-point conversions.
I feel iffy about the personnel for this team in the red zone sometimes. Like if it's not just the offensive line moving people out of the way.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's the thing that I think is at least worth considering, and I meant to talk about it during the wide receiver portion. Maybe this team just doesn't go 3 wide very often. Maybe they just run a lot of 12 personnel, 21 personnel, put 2 running backs out there, put 2 tight ends out there. We know they have those guys that are really talented, right? You have 2 talented tight ends. You have at least 2 talented running backs. Maybe you just say, hey, we're bucking the trend of 11 personnel. We don't need 3 wide receivers out there every game. We don't have the personnel for 3 wide receivers out there.
In the probable words of a vice presidential candidate right now, just stack the box.
I know everyone likes to split things out wide, and that's the hot trend, and it makes a lot of sense in terms of just spacing and all that sort of stuff. But maybe the Lions just don't do that this year. You still want the option to, obviously, and you need somebody back there to be an X. But I don't know. Am I going to be that upset if J-Mo, Amon-Ra, Sam Laporta, Gibbs, and David Montgomery are out there? Those are your 6 guys, 5 guys, whatever it is. 5 guys.
The important thing is someone's going to get someone's going to get fantasy points. So this is inherently a good thing. Read more alerts.
Great.
Read more alerts.
You know what? That was a great move to get me to read more alerts. Under Tanker, thank you for the follow. Robo, thank you for the 34 months. 11-5 division champs. Here we go. What about the 17th game? 11-5-1. Think about it.
I think people are just still stuck on 16 games.
I know.
It's going to be hard until we get to 18.
Even what is this, the 4th year that they've been doing it? It still catches me every now and then. Vcon Drag, thank you for subscribing the first time using your Twitch Prime. MGO Korg, 40 months subscribed to the channel. Kula, 21 months, says I thought we looked pretty good. Super stoked for the season. Eric and I talked about this on PODD. It was nice to just have them win that game. It doesn't matter. And by all means, it shouldn't really make us feel any better than if he had missed that kick, other than the fact that you'd feel less good about Jake Bates. But it was good. It was nice. It was nice to see him win the game, and it was nice to see the offense move the ball. Really in all 4 quarters a little bit. I think that was the big difference that made me feel better. Captain James Kirk, 20 bits, says the Sticktator returns, shutting down the voice of the people in our alerts. Guys, just submit your alerts in the break. Just wait until the break. Do it right now. Hit the subscribe button right now. It's going to show up. I ain't holding you back. You're holding you back. Stop playing the victim. All right. 25 bits from Captain James Kirk says, don't believe him, chat. He's a Zonovan Knight truther. There was an epic debate on PODD. Vaki forever. There was. Because for some reason, Eric wouldn't admit that Zonovan Knight had a good game, which he did. And I think I even admitted, like, I'm not saying he's going to win a roster spot. Just say the man did well. And he has a valuable skill set in that he runs like a bowling ball. All right. Tepid agreement from my co-hosts.
I would just like you to get through alerts.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
20 more bits from Captain James Kirk, who says, Jeremy asked in the PODD comments, but what's more intense, Ryan's love in 2022 for Malik Willis or Eric's hate in 2024 for Nate Sudfeld? I did share that comment with Ryan and Eric, and they both agreed.
That we didn't agree.
Oh, you didn't? You both
No.
You both thought you were on the higher level. So Eric thinks he hates Sudfeld more. You think you loved, what's his name more?
Hold on, a lot of things right there.
Malik Wilson. Sorry.
Loved as in past tense, and you forgot the guy's name.
I'm sorry.
I how dare? Who was this again? Who said this?
Captain James Kirk? No. Yes. Captain James Kirk.
How dare he insinuate that my love was only in 2022?
This is true. Ryan's love is eternal for Malik Willis.
Are you kidding me? Do you know I still look at Kyle Pitt's PFR page every once in a while. Like, come on.
Lovingly.
Like, what are we doing here? Yeah, like, come on. Has Eric signed any Nate Sudfeld cards?
But he might like have a Nate Sudfeld voodoo doll that he just is constantly tormenting.
Jeez.
That's sick.
Caleb Whitwer, I'm sorry. 22 months subscribed to the channel, says Prime sub wouldn't go, so I guess I'm paid sub. That's weird. I'm sorry that didn't work for you. There's no reason it shouldn't. But I appreciate the sub either way. Gupek, 20 months, says this minute road. I'm sorry, no, it doesn't say this minute. It happened this minute. Says road trip to Mini, October 20th. Ooh. Have you been there before? The stadium is obviously super nice. The environment is pretty cool. And in my experience, the fans were very nice. That seems to have changed.
I don't think it'll be like that anymore.
That seems to have changed a little bit.
Although granted, they might be eating some humbleness this year, considering how their lead up to the season has gone.
True.
Nightmare, if you're a Vikings fan.
Stephon Gilmore doesn't care. Stephon Gilmore wanted $7 million guaranteed.
It was a bit of a surprise that they're spending that much on a veteran corner for a 1-year deal. But
doesn't that just, to me, it just reeks of Stephon Gilmore felt like he was going to go to the highest bidder. Yeah. And it felt like the Minnesota Vikings were the highest bidder. I'm not sure why, but they were.
Yeah.
Well, it must suck to really have a great... I don't even know if J.J. McCarthy's performance in that first preseason game was that great. It was a lot of... I talked with some Michigan friends out here, and it's like... It felt a lot of what you saw at J.J. McCarthy at Michigan. Where it's like, okay, he's making a couple good passes here, and then it's just largely what you expect out of him. But still, you had genuine excitement behind that guy, and it felt like... I know there was this whole idea that he'd never play the season, but I didn't see Sam Darnold playing 17 games for Minnesota at all, Ryan. I don't think...
That was probably not the plan.
No, and it probably wasn't realistic if you're getting Sam Darnold. But, man, this might have been the worst outcome, though, because now he's going to miss that year of development, potential play, and...
Yeah. It's rough.
And then what happened with Jordan Addison, too? Did that ever get... Because I saw he had the cart come out for him, I think.
I think it turned out he was okay.
Oh, okay.
He's obviously got some legal stuff though, right? That
well, he's
going to
fell
have to come
asleep
down the
at-
pike.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people just assume that he's not going to get suspended. I would not make that assumption.
Second off season in a row with
Yeah.
a traffic violation.
And not just speeding. or
Not
anything
just
like that.
yeah.
No, and the timing on it, man. Like the timing. You drunk in your car after a teammate of yours perished largely because of drunk driving from another driver. Like
Like immature doesn't begin to explain it.
Yeah. 2 more bits from LJ, who got around my I'm not reading 1-bit alerts.
Ooh.
Since hypothetically, if Adam Thielen was available because the Panthers cut him, would you make a waiver claim?
No.
we've got too many
Maybe.
tight ends to sort out.
Maybe. He's still not next, though. Right? Like, I don't know.
How old is Adam Thielen? 35?
Let's see. Adam
wrong
Thielen
with
is
being 35?
33. But he's going to be 34 in 4 days.
I don't know. Why? Like, give me a good reason why. Because here's the thing. Adam Thielen in Carolina was fine with the situation because he was going to get targets.
Yeah.
If Adam Thielen isn't making the roster in Carolina and his whole thing is like, I want to be a part of an offense, where are the targets coming from? Where not even the targets, where are the opportunities to be lined up on the field coming from?
Maybe he's your, I don't know. He's 6'2", so maybe he's your ex, but I don't feel like that's how he wins. So
Even then, how many targets are you giving to Adam Thielen? Because he's going to want more than 2 or 3.
well, he's 33. Some tough shit. Like,
Yeah, I don't know. Like it just doesn't. I don't know. Also, if you're selling Sam Darnold stock, I'm buying it. So anybody who's selling Sam Darnold stock, I'm buying it.
wow, who's a
Well,
Viking
I haven't
fan now?
held Darnold's stock in years, so don't look at me.
Hey, I get it. I'm just saying, like, who's the best receiver that he's played with? Jamison Crowder.
No,
No
listen.
offense to Jamison Crowder, but like,
But that's
I think Sam Darnold is better than Nick Mullins. Nick Mullins had me sweating.
Well, A, that's not a very high bar to clear, but B, like to your point, Justin Jefferson has made chicken salad out of chicken shit for worse quarterbacks.
Are you saying that Kirk Cousins is worse than Sam Darnold?
No, I'm saying Nick Mullins is worse
Ah,
than Sam Darnold.
I think the Vikings could still have a very lethal offense, just because I think I like their coach as much as I want to not admit it is, and they have weapons.
oh, come on, say it.
What?
Ring the alarm. Aaron Jones is in the backfield. Jeremy's on board.
I do like Aaron Jones. I'm sorry. I think he's a very talented back. I think he's
Speaking of
top 10.
Can't stay on the field.
Speaking of Kirk Cousins, did either of you guys see what Raheem Mostert was saying about not playing Penix?
doesn't make any sense. I can't justify that in any sort of way. If he's not going to be your starting quarterback this year, how is it possible that the only time you're going to be able to give him live game reps, you've already seen enough out of him that you don't need to?
I don't.
It does not make sense at all. I can't even pretend to understand a justification for that, and it makes me think something weird is going on.
Well, something weird has been going on. Something weird has been going on since they drafted Michael Penix in Atlanta.
There's
Just
no
go back-
way, there's no way they can't get out of Kirk Cousins, right? Like even trading him, like that's a nightmare.
Yeah. No,
I know he
it
wants
can't
him.
happen.
Yeah.
He's there for
You're
how
going to trade him back to Minnesota?
I think
Dude, there's people saying like 2026
Yeah, I
is
don't think
like
there's a way he can realistically get out of the contract in the first 2 years. So
Yeah.
I, I don't get it. Obviously no one understood the pick at the time, but listen, like you
I
can
didn't
make
want to pile on.
you can make a justification for it. You can make the Jordan Love argument. You can make the Aaron Rodgers argument. Whatever. Okay, fine, sure. But not getting him out there in the preseason to help him develop, to help him get these live reps that we're talking about how important it is for Hendon Hooker, the backup quarterback, and not your long-term plan. I don't understand.
And forget about long-term plans for a second. What if Kirk Cousins gets hurt
Right.
middle of the season? You're not going to give reps to a guy who you'd like to maybe see out there as your QB2. You're going to give that to who's even on their fucking roster right now.
I have no idea.
For the Falcons, isn't it Taylor Heineke?
It's yeah.
Why
Taylor
why
Heineke
why, why
is
do we
gonna
need
give
to
it-
see Taylor Heineke?
Yeah, why does he
We're
need
gonna
those
need-
reps? Hasn't he
But
shown you
like
enough?
but that's the point. Is like, okay, then if you're not going to play him preseason, you might not play him in the season. So Taylor Heineke is going to give you a better chance to win than Michael Penix. John Paddock is going to give you a better chance to win than Michael Penix Jr. Fuck, and for good measure, off.
Good call, Cattle Snacks, by the way. I think yeah, I forgot that Sam Darnold bled over into Carolina and had DJ Moore, but I will say that the 1 year they played together, DJ Moore was pretty freaking good, and Sam Darnold wasn't great, but I don't know. I'm interested to see what it looks like.
Now you want to? Some people were saying I was hating on JJ McCarthy, but I am not. Like, I'm seeing some people trying to say Bo Nix so far looks like the best rookie quarterback. Let's not hate too much. I'm going to be afraid of Caleb for a while.
Gardner Minshew, Las
Starter.
Vegas Raiders starter.
So we have a sheet at Fox Sports Radio. We fill out NFC, AFC winners, Super Bowl winners, out on a limb prediction, MVP prediction, and then worst team in the NFL. I put down Raiders this year. My head says Giants though, but damn, I think just by vibes alone, and that fact right there, Ryan.
I haven't really thought about the rest of the NFL that much. I'm kind of only paying attention to the top teams because, that's the only ones that really
I
matter.
am
this is
watching.
That's why
I will
people
say,
hate Lions fans.
I will fully admit some sicko mode stuff right now. I am watching Saints 49ers because I want to see Spencer Rattler play. Because he might be my oddball weird crush of this last past draft.
Spencer Rattler,
Yeah.
I have no
former
opinion.
PFF mock draft #1 quarterback off the board. Spencer Rattler.
I think he hit very well. I don't feel like talking about PFF again, to be honest. You guys have not seen the
No, I've read it.
Arif Hassan.
Yeah,
no,
I
I'm not
read
talking
it,
about
yeah.
you. I'm talking
Oh.
to our
Gotcha.
I'm talking to the crowd. If you guys have not read Arif Hassan's piece, but it's been rough over there. And as Jeremy pointed out on Twitter today, top graded Bears quarterback according to PFF, Tyson Bagent. Not sure how you get there at all.
Hey, I think I was looking at his stats. I think he went 8 for 8 for 2 touchdowns. So checks out.
Man, Bears wasted a pick.
Yeah, there's
Tyson Badgett under your nose this whole time.
Listen, you could probably convince some Bears.
Idiots.
You could probably convince some Bears fans of it, considering the very dumb Bears fan things I've seen, including I don't understand why Justin Fields isn't getting more consideration to start with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I don't know why DeAndre Swift isn't a focal point of our offense.
I'm in on Spencer Rattler, by the way, Chris. I drafted him
Thank you.
today in my fantasy draft. So
Really, it was like QB3 or something, or
it's a keeper league, so it's
Oh, okay.
mostly
That-
rookies.
I mean,
so
if you're going to count on anyone there, I really do think like after, it ended bad with him at Oklahoma, but I thought he kind of rebounded. I mean, wasn't the greatest play in the world, but still seemed like, that talent is still there. And I think I don't expect Derek Carr to last much longer for the Saints.
Can they get out of Derek Carr? Wasn't last year the first year of the Derek Carr experience for the Saints? Like I felt like they got in bed for like at least a couple years or a few years.
I don't know.
Potential out is 2026
for Derek Carr.
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys a question. Slightly changing topics.
Remember when they booed Derek Carr, Jeremy? Last year, and they were cheering Jameson Winston. Or no, it was Taysom Hill coming in at quarterback,
Yes.
right?
It was Taysom Hill, a guy who they've seen way too many times already,
and they
don't care.
And then the monkey paw went down, and and they were in line to win that game with Derek Carr, and then he goes down with an injury, and the Lions win.
Jameis Winston strikes.
Yikes.
Go ahead.
What bothers you more in the preseason? The amount of hype that rookie quarterbacks get, or the fans that tell fans of these rookie quarterbacks that they shouldn't be excited and shut up and relax?
I will interrupt you real quick. I just want to update you. Derek Carr just threw a pick.
Beautiful. What timing?
No, I'm sorry. I'm an idiot.
Can you
that was
again?
actually Brock Purdy on the field. My bad. I'm an idiot. Anyway, sorry. Ignore me. I'm an idiot. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Okay, great. I'm glad you interrupted for that.
either or, Jeremy. It was either what or what?
Either the amount of rookie, like every time a rookie quarterback does something in the preseason, there's a million clips of it. And I mean, you saw the meme of Justin Field, of Caleb Williams making a throw on the run in training camp and Justin Fields doing the exact same thing like 6 years ago. Is that more annoying? Or the fans that are like, shut up! Why are you so excited about this guy? He hasn't even played a game yet.
It's the fan policing.
The latter is far more annoying.
More annoying.
I actually
far
agree.
more annoying.
And because I mean, listen, if the Lions had drafted Caleb Williams and he makes one good throw at practice, we're all crapping our pants. Every time Jameson Williams does anything this offseason, we're all crapping our pants.
For God's sakes, like how many?
That's the fun. It's fun. Let's crap our pants. It's fun.
We have an entire archetype of wide receiver Lions fans fall in love with every preseason. From Tom Kennedy to Jace Billingsley. How many times do we have the Billingsleys on the podcast?
Winnemucca.
Once. No, we don't. Did we even have him on the podcast?
No, not Jace, but his wasn't his father? Or
I talked to his father and one of his coaches for a story. I'm trying to remember if I think we did have Jace on the podcast before. I don't really remember though. It's been a while.
It was during the Patricia years. It's fine. You remember
everything was black hole from that.
Yeah.
Damian Smith over on YouTube, 2 pounds, asks, why include James Houston when he hasn't played? I assume you mean on the 53-man roster, and we're going to talk a little bit about James Houston and the edge position in a little bit. But he did in the first game, right? Just didn't last game. And by all accounts, it doesn't seem like a serious injury. He's been working with trainers, which is usually a sign that he's trending towards being back. If I had to guess right now, I would guess he practices this week and plays in week 3. But I do think he needs to earn that spot. I think he has to go out there and I feel like he's in a spot right now. He needs to make sure he doesn't lose it. And we're going to talk in a little bit, probably pretty quickly, about the edge position and some of the guys that may or may not have made a good impression. Do you want to get back to it?
Can we do that now?
Yeah, I think this is a good time to get back into it.
I think I'm good.
All right.
Real quick, before we do, I'm just going to put the cranberry juice away. I've settled my stomach a bit. So.
I thought you were trying to get on a TikTok on a skateboard with Fleetwood Mac playing.
That feels like it was so long ago. It was during COVID.
Has that guy gotten milkshake ducked yet? Because I kind of assume it's going to happen. Just like the most wholesome thing on the internet that got famous for being just super chill. I'm assuming something bad is going to happen because that's how the internet works.
how it works.
Why haven't you heard about Reader lately? What's to hear? I think one of the things I would like to ask about, because it's one thing I don't have any clarity on, is Mahogany. I'd like a check-in with Mahogany and what the plan is for him, because let's say he practices this week. They take him off NFI this week. 2 practices and a preseason game. Is that enough for him to justify a roster spot? Or are you're throwing your hands up and say, let's just put him in NFI for 4 weeks, get him physically in shape, and then go from there?
I think we're going to talk about it on the
we
podcast.
Should. Yeah. But yeah, Reader's a tough one as well. So we'll get to it. I'm so sweaty.
Hell yeah.
All right. Let's get to it.
Welcome back to Pride Detroit PODcast. When we left off, we were talking about big cut questions. I know we didn't get through all of them. Do we want to say whatever notes we have real quick on tight ends or DBs, Jeremy?
Yeah, sure. Let's do that, because I do think the tight end is a battle that has not been talked about much. And I understand why. They haven't been putting up a lot of numbers in terms of receptions, but they're out there a long time, and I think it's interesting to discuss whether they keep 3, whether they keep 4, maybe they even keep a 5th, because it wasn't that long ago that we heard out of Ben Johnson that it's the best tight end room he's ever been around. So 4 seems like at least a minimum to me. We know the top 2. What do we like and dislike about the rest of the group? Do you guys have a strong feeling about any of the guys in battle there?
Ryan, you go first. I'm thinking a little more.
Sure. Yeah. It was nice to see James Mitchell catch a ball and make a nice play. Admittedly, I do want to go back, and I think, Jeremy, to I guess the larger point is you got to take a look at what they're doing in different phases. You got to see what they're bringing to the table, especially when it comes to blocking.
Yep.
Parker Hesse feels like the guy who has enough versatility, and I just want to see that player on the Lions football team so bad.
Yeah.
But he seems like the guy. Is it Zylstra or is it Mitchell? And we talked about this a little bit on First Bite. If you're struggling finding an X receiver, well, can you use an extra tight end somewhere when it comes to red zone situations? Either one of these guys want to step up, and they both caught a pass. So that's why, again, I kind of feel like I want to just defer to I want to watch tape and pay closer attention to what they're doing when they're not catching the ball and I'm just, a dog chasing cars. I think you're going to find some more evidence that will be useful in kind of making that decision.
Yeah, I feel like it's hard for me not to fall in love with Hesse, but I also think at the same time that's doing some devil versus the brand new shiny toy a little bit. I think Ryan is definitely on about versatility winning the day. I guess the big question is that we keep talking about this investment of capital and everything, and I don't know how much I can really keep saying it about James Mitchell, but yeah, it's tough. I think I do lean Hesse a little bit to at least have the pole position right now, but I could definitely see 4 being the real solution here, unless one of those happens to be the fullback or something.
Well, that's the thing with Parker, right? Is he's the only guy that I've seen take fullback reps,
fullback position snaps. Yeah.
He's the only guy that did it yesterday. I believe he was the only one who did it in the first preseason game. He's consistently the only guy doing it in practice. So, it seems like that job is kind of his. And
Parker Hesse, Northwestern style super back? Question mark.
Right? I think he's the most solid blocker out of the reserves. I do think I've seen Shane Zylstra make some strides in that spot. And to me, it is very much I think Parker Hesse's in. I'm not saying it's a lock, but I think he's in. And then I think it's Shane Zylstra versus James Mitchell. Sorry, Sean McEwen. And those two are like, they're both repping a lot with the ones. They both were repping at the beginning of the game on Saturday. So I think that's a neck and neck battle. I think I just like Shane Zylstra a little bit more as a more balanced guy. We know he's a good wide receiver. We know he's a good receiver from his wide receiver days. I think he's managed to catch on with the blocking a little bit more. But we also know that the Lions are very patient with their draft picks. And so I know we're on, is this year 3 of James Mitchell? I think it is, right? So, you know, we've seen year 3 breakouts. We've seen year 4 breakouts. So maybe they just like the potential there a little bit more than Shane. But if we're just going on how they're playing right now, I think I would have Shane and Zylstra as tight end 3. And I don't know, maybe they keep a tight end 5. I don't know. But I think James Mitchell still has work to do.
Yeah.
More Iowa Hawkeye tight ends.
More Iowa.
So I want Parker Hesse on the team.
Mm-hmm. All right. There's a little bit of drama at DBs. I was actually fairly impressed with Kindle Vildor. I know some people still will not forgive Kindle Vildor for what happened last year's, but yeah, Ryan, I don't think I saw a single play where I'm like, I feel bad about Kindle Vildor.
Dude, that was one of the biggest highlights of the game. I thought was the outside cornerback play, and you had Dorsey starting on one side, you had Kindle on the other side. I thought they did a fantastic job. Vildor, I know earlier I joked about Khalil Dorsey being a roster lock. I will say that I think Kindle Vildor is a roster lock. It feels for certain because the way that man plays around the line of scrimmage is something that Dan Campbell, Aaron Glenn will love forever, and they will never be able to relinquish like physical guys who just love getting their nose dirty and aren't afraid to defend in the run. And that's Kindle Vildor. And what he did, Jeremy, on Saturday was it wasn't just the plays he was making at the line of scrimmage. It was like the downfield coverage.
Yeah.
And it was just like good, like teach tape, right? It was like using the boundary as an extra defender and, you know, fairly like sticky coverage. I thought he was really good. I thought he was awesome. Khalil Dorsey too, but those guys are the cornerbacks at the bottom of the depth chart to me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how nice is it to see essentially your 5th and 6th cornerbacks go out there and go toe to toe with Patrick Mahomes and the starting receiving core of the Kansas City Chiefs? Like that's
by
huge.
the way. Yeah. Thank you, Chiefs. There's been a lot of, I know, national discourse about why the Chiefs are playing their starters, but I can't think of a better gift of getting the 2nd and 3rds for the Detroit Lions, some real reps against real star
100%.
starters, NFL starters. Like that was a very understated part of this game.
Get a sense of what, you know, Kansas City home cooking's like too, because illegal motion on Xavier Worthy, a play that literally they told the referees to pay closer attention to.
Hey, you got to see some Patrick Mahomes magic bullshit in the preseason. Now you know he can do that. Oh, I'm sorry, Ryan. I broke your rule. That's for you. I don't have to follow your rules up on your whiteboard. I don't have to follow your rules up on your whiteboard. I don't.
I'm gonna make you sign a syllabus.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm with I wouldn't call Kindle Vildor a lock because if you're going to be cornerback 6 in this team, you have to do it on you're going to have to be decent on special teams. And I'm not saying he's not decent on special teams. He had a lot of reps on special teams. I haven't gotten the all 22, so I can't tell you how great he or how poor he was on special teams. But his ability as a depth corner is nice. But again, if you're going to be an active dude on game day, you're going to have a game day role. And behind Carlton Davis, Terrion Arnold, Ennis Rakestraw, maybe even Khalil Dorsey might be above him on the defensive depth chart. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to justify a roster spot just because you can play defense. But I'm with you. Like, there's a reason why he's here. There's a reason why they brought him back after last year. There's a reason why he's playing well under these circumstances. He's the kind of cornerback that they like, the physical guy. But I mean, I think I was definitely impressed with Vildor. I think I came even more away impressed with Khalil because he is a guy that has won a spot on special teams. Like that happened 2 or 3 weeks ago. Khalil Dorsey stamped his way onto the roster through that. Now he's developing as an outside corner, developing as a guy who can really be a guy you can rely on. And that was a surprise development to me, because now I think he is part of that second team of guys that if the first team gets injured, he might come out there. And I don't know, it gets tough when you start doing the math, because Eric and I did our 53 and we had 11 defensive backs, which is on the high end. 10 is relatively standard. 6 of those were the corners, and we did sneak Kindle Vildor in there, but that might come at the expense of someone like CJ Moore, who hasn't been great as a safety, but we know how good he is as a special team. It may come at the expense of someone like Brandon Joseph, who I think has justified making a roster spot for the plays he's making, both at safety and on special teams. Lauren Strickland, another guy who's making plays mostly in the second half, so you have to take that into account, but he's another guy that he can play safety, he can play nickel, he can play special teams. If you're keeping 6 guys and one of them is Khalil Dorsey, a veteran corner who's probably 4th or 5th on the rung of outside corners, dude better play special teams.
Yeah. It's a lot of guys. This feels like, this doesn't feel low drama, the DBs, but it definitely doesn't feel like there's one guy standing out that's like, boy, that's hard to cut. It kind of feels like we've got everything pretty well locked up. Well,
the drama comes at the bottom of the roster, right? Like
right,
it comes at defensive back 9, 10, and 11, which hopefully that doesn't make as big of a difference as it could.
Yeah. As it did last year?
As it did last year.
Going to that, I want to talk some, let's talk about, I don't know if anyone stood out here, but it's a very, I have been trying to figure out the edges in my mind right now. I thought Matthew Betts largely won the day against Kansas City. I thought he made some terrific plays. I really liked what I saw out of, and this is less an edge thing as more as it is just as a linebacker, but Summers was, I thought, played great in all 3 phases you can ask for a linebacker. He could maybe be one of those guys that kind of makes it hard to cut. But
really quick on the linebacker thing, obviously the lines, their top 5 are set, right? We know their top 5, assuming that Malcolm is not going to miss any time, which might be an assumption that I shouldn't make. He could be one of those guys that go on IR and miss 4 games. Which
another guy on the roster who has repped at fullback before.
True. But I thought all of the guys, like, I know most people don't care about PFF grade, but like Boplin had the highest grade of anybody, and I think rightfully so. He made some plays out there. Ty Summers definitely made some plays out there. He had a pressure on a blitz. He had a not quite a tackle for a loss, but close to a tackle for loss. And the important thing about all those guys, the reason they added a lot of those guys partially was because they needed bodies to play in the preseason because they were going to not play all of their guys. But also those guys have a ton of special teams experience, especially Ty Summers. I think Ty Summers has over like 1,000 special team snaps. And so if the Lions are debating keeping a linebacker 6, him, Ben Neiman, who's been their starting Mike all of the preseason, those guys have an outside chance that, like, if there's a guy that shows up on the 53 and makes 80% of the fan base go, who? I think it's going to come from the linebacker position.
Do you think that given the time he's missing right now, too, and all these guys are talking about a linebacker, could this be what pushes James Houston to the outside? And I know, again, is how can you pass up on the talent he shows you there on the pass rush, but you just gave a lot of examples of why, like, if they're looking for versatility in their linebackers, what do you do with James Houston?
It's an interesting question because Jeremy, I think that he's just an edge rusher. He's just a defensive end now to them. And until he can handle more, he's a one-trick pony. So that makes it tough for him. And on top of that, not that I think Josh Paschal is in any sort of risk of not making the roster. He's a second-round draft pick, and he was getting a lot of reps.
He was, and I think a lot of people were upset or worried that he played
questioning
in the
fourth quarter.
He also played in the first quarter. Like, he played the entire game, and I think it's just, let's get our young guys some reps. We're also a little bit thin because James Houston isn't out there, because we lost Ukwu for a minute here, because we lost Nate Lynn last week. They were short on edges, and plus, and on top of that, I thought Josh Paschal was good. I thought he played well.
The first snap of the game, I'm pretty sure he lined up in the 3-tech, and he did a lot of that throughout the game.
Yes.
So it was like him doing exotic stuff. So it makes sense why he was getting snaps first through fourth quarter. He was doing a bunch of different stuff. And it, James Houston is just kind of a enigma to me because Chris, that was the ultimate bait and switch. You said James Houston. I thought you were leading up to Malcolm Rodriguez because it's like, I mean, there's part of me that it's like, okay, you have all these other guys. Like I had Beauplan down as a guy who made an incredible play who bailed out Uku when I said it last week. Uku, I thought, did an awesome job in setting the edge. This week, I didn't think he did as good of a job. And there was a play where Beauplan bailed him out with a shoestring tackle. That was a really good play. And it's like, okay, you have all these other linebackers that are making plays. Malcolm Rodriguez, I don't know.
I think this is the entire problem of the outside front seven. Yeah, like that's kind of because you look at the outside linebackers and you know they're going to be playing some pass rushing here too. And like even if you're just looking at pure DEs though too, like I thought Mitchell Agude made some plays in this game.
Yeah.
As I just
Played
said,
really good run defense.
I thought Matthew Betts, it's been up and down for our Canadian boy, but he was out there and he had a couple of pretty damn good ones out there.
I mean, he had the best sack of maybe the preseason with that inside move. He also did have a very bad offsides on a 3rd and long that made it a 3rd and medium, but I mean, it was his best game, but it's like Betts to me is a little bit too far behind. But Agude, Ukwu, I think those are guys that might legitimately challenge Houston for a spot. I still think it's Houston's job to lose. I think, but the dude has to get on the field too, right? Like he's got a knee bruise or something like that.
Ryan words.
Yes, availability, blah blah blah, all that. I think he has to go out there. I think he has to return to practice this week, and I think he has to show up in the last preseason game. The shackles are off now. Like you're just an edge rusher. Show us what you showed us in your rookie season. Forget about all the dropping into coverage. Forget about run fits. I don't care. Go sack the quarterback twice in front of a home audience on Saturday and reclaim your spot because you got to go fight for it, man.
It'll probably be Justin Fields playing out there too. You sack him. Come on. You know you can sack Justin Fields.
Everyone sacks Justin Fields.
I want to talk at least. I think we've gone through a lot of drama, Ryan, Jeremy, but we take a little bit of a break from the drama for a second because we got to get into it one more unit. But we haven't talked any Sione Vaki really here.
But yeah, let's celebrate.
You want to celebrate, or do you want to be the wet blanket and pump the brakes a little bit, Jeremy? Because we were kind of going that way, talking a little bit about Zonovan Knight earlier. Yeah. So which is it? Are you speaking of shackles off, or are you going back to the tried and true persona that I know you are? Because I thought Vaki was great.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's RB3 great, but again, with everything, I'm glad that when the Lions drafted him, it was an intriguing pick. I was not quite sure their intended role for him. But seeing him pass catching out of the backfield, like that's the way the halfback, tailback, whatever you want to call it, position has been kind of going. And it's good to see that they've got another guy who can really do that because Jahmyr Gibbs can do that fine too. But ultimately, what I've always worried about with this Lions team going into this year is depth at running back. And I don't know if I'd trust Vaki to be carrying a load for a long time. But for right now, it just seems like every time I see Vaki out there, he seems to be growing.
Yeah, and he is. No question about it. I can go either way here because, yes, seeing him in that 2-minute drill, catch pass after pass after pass, and make Chiefs defender miss over and over and over again.
Was it you who said he was basically the new Theo Riddick, or was that? Yeah. And that's not as a shame on Theo Riddick, as in like you go to him when you need those passes in a 2-minute.
The 2-minute drill is perfect for a guy like Sione Vaki because you can trust his hands, and in a 2-minute drill, the defenses are playing prevent. The short middle of the field is wide open, and to Sudfeld's credit, he took advantage of it, and to Vaki's credit, he turned 3-4 yard passes into 10-15 yard gains. That was really fun. That was really great. He still needs to be able to run between the tackles, and that's something that I threw out a quote during our break, and I'll say it again. This is Dan Campbell talking about Sione Vaki. He says, "We already felt like this kid is going to have the ability to play special teams. Well, now it is like, can we use him on offense? He's a lot further along on that part, speaking of special teams, of the game than carrying the football. A lot of that is because really he hasn't done it. Taking the carries, the vision, the play, the cuts, the reads, all of that. But in the pass game, I thought he stepped up. Yes, I think his background as a slot receiver, great in the pass game. Everything else in terms of running back stuff, that stuff needs to come. So pump the brakes on the RB3 talk. Craig Reynolds is very good. He plays special teams. He's trusted in all of those roles at running back. But Vaki is going to be fun. Like I'm not saying you guys are way overhyping Sione Vaki. I'm saying you're early. You're early on Sione Vaki. Let him develop before you throw this dude into a game day running back role where he's, when Gibbs gets tired, you throw in Sione Vaki. That's not going to happen yet. Maybe by the end of the year he's RB3, but he's not even close yet.
Compliments by comparison are not compliments, but I just want to say that I think I have more faith in Sione Vaki's ability to grow as a running back than I ever did in Theo Riddick.
Fair. I think that's fair and warranted.
Thank you. That's all I want to say.
I mean, all you have to also go back to what they said about Vaki, right? Like why they drafted him. He went in and studied the entire Lions playbook when they brought him in for the top 30, and they're like, wow, this guy is going to learn. This guy knows how to go through the process of learning at the NFL. He knows how to be a professional. He's smart. He's going to get there.
Yeah.
Going back to the drama as we kind of start to wind things down. Ryan, I'm going to go to you because I can feel that Jeremy might see this as blood in the water. What the hell was going on with kickoff and punts? No, I mean kickoff return, kick returns and punt returns in this game. It feels like I could feel Phipps' blood pressure rise a little bit.
It feels like there's just a lot to get squared away. There's a lot of rough edges to be sanded, and how much of it do you want to blame on the new kickoff? How much of it do you want to blame on, even with punt? It's like, I don't know.
It feels like they're rotating in a bunch of different guys.
Yes, that's what I mean. Like, is Isaiah Williams ever going to be returning punts in 2024? I sure hope not. It's even the kick returners. Like, who are the kick returners for this football team? I don't think we know. I don't think we will know until week 1. Truth be told, I mean, there's probably some things that Jeremy has seen in training camp that he's not allowed to talk about, but it's almost like they're kind of, especially with the kick return, it feels like they're almost relearning just that whole play because it is new and it's something that's very intricate and there's going to be a lot of strategy with it. We talked about on First Bite, Jeremy. As far as things getting ironed out, like, are the Lions just going to go with, we're just going to put it through the end zone? It's worth it. Go ahead. Start at the 30. We don't care. I don't know.
So much of this is just data collecting right now.
It's mysterious right now, and there's not a big enough sample size to say this is how we should do it.
Well, and
right?
I think Dan Campbell even admitted this a little bit last night after the game. Like, they are just testing things out, see what works, see what doesn't work. I'll pull another quote from his presser. He says, quote, "Phipp and I are messing around with some stuff. We're tinkering a little bit with the coverage, but it's what you know. You open up a seam and this, like, everyone hits so quick, it's gone. We're learning from this, but we're tinkering with some stuff." So, like, yeah, that's the point of all of this right now, especially when you have a new drastic rule change. Like, this is unprecedented. Yes, the XFL did something similar, but the yardage is a little bit different, and some of the rules are a little bit different. And so you have to create your own data points here in the preseason before it matters. You have to say, okay, well, what if I put this player here? Or what if I do a little loop block here or whatever, a pull block there? You see what works, you see what doesn't work, and all in the midst of all that, you're also changing personnel all the time because you want to say, okay, how's this guy on special teams? How's this guy? So any sort of chemistry you want to have built by week 1, it's going to take some time to build. And so it was frustrating to watch on Saturday night, but at the same time, I have like zero worries that Dave Phipp and Dan Campbell are going to figure it out because this is something they've been thinking about for a very long time, and this is just the experimental phase.
All right. Well, we are coming up to the end of the podcast. We are trying to have clock integrity on this one a little bit. No, not that kind of an end, Jeremy. Not again.
Oh, okay, good.
Well, unless you have something you're not telling me.
No.
But as we look to this final game, one big or maybe even one small thing you want to see from preseason game 3, which will happen on Thursday. So we'll have our thoughts on Sunday. I think we should have
it's a Saturday game. It's a Saturday
game. Excuse me.
Yeah.
It's a Saturday game. So we'll be on after that. Before I even say my big thing, can I lead off with a really small thing I kind of want to see?
Sure.
So that Caden Davis touchdown pass.
Mm-hmm.
Very understated part of that, and I know the coaches are happy to see it, but Donovan Peoples-Jones threw a huge block on that convoy there. I'd like to see more of it because and just I think in general I just want to see more of Donovan Peoples-Jones in this game because that's the kind of move I know that this coaching staff likes, and we keep talking about the wide receiver depth and who's standing out, and it just feels like I'd like to see that as part of something DPJ can grow on. I'm not saying he's going to make this roster. I'm not saying he's going to make the roster based on wide receiver blocking, but I would like to see, a bounce back game for Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Yeah. I mean, that stuff matters, right? We know the coaching staff believes that blocking is a huge part of the wide receiver job, and it was something that Josh Reynolds was really, really good at. And so that sort of stuff matters. It's just you also have to be able to create separation.
You got to
Donovan
catch the ball
Peoples-Jones
too,
did none of that on Saturday. So if he can rebound as an actual receiver, maybe he works his way back into that conversation.
One big thing you want to see, Jeremy.
I'd like to see some of the starters play, to be quite honest. I know I'm probably alone in that, and maybe this is just my impatience, but I'd like to see the starting defensive line play a series. I want to see Levi out there. I want to see Davenport out there. I want to see Aiden out there. And I want to see that kind of havoc they can wreak a little bit because I've been seeing it in practice here and there, but I haven't seen it in a full-fledged, full contact thing. Give them a series and let's see if they can live up to some of the hype that we've been hyping them around a little bit this past month.
I would like to see, and I'm probably going to pay much closer attention to line play, and specifically I think the offensive line. Some good things from last week against Kansas City, and even Dan Campbell commented on it. I think in pass pro they were awesome. I don't think that outside of like a play here or a play there that Nate Sudfeld or Hendon Hooker really felt pressure that wasn't on them for taking too long to go through a read or being indecisive or whatever it may have been. So some good things to celebrate there. I just need to see somebody. It comes back to the Christian Mahogany thing. Are the Lions just going to trust Christian Mahogany when they've always been a franchise under Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes that really takes things slow with guys, especially those that are coming back from injury or illness? They're going to take their time. And you have a rookie who missed the majority of training camp. Granted, he's getting the X's and O's, but he's not getting the reps. And that is just as valuable, if not more, than that. And I mean, case in point, that's Hendon Hooker, right? We thought, oh, well, he should just hit the ground running. He had a whole year. He had Teddy Bridgewater. There were some bumps and bruises along the way, right? But with Mahogany, I don't know. It's going to take time. And Colby Sorsdal, I want to see a little bit more out of you.
He got a whole lot of snaps on Saturday, every single one. And it was the up and down Colby to Sorsdal experience.
Yeah.
Well, I think Jeremy, I would like to see starters play. I know everyone panics nonstop. And even today, I was dealing with someone who was like, boy, the Chiefs really rolled the dice playing starters out there. What if Patrick Mahomes got hurt? It's football. You're going to get hurt. You get hurt in practice. I hate that it's specifically preseason game. We save our ire for injuries, Jeremy.
I'm with you, but I do want to keep the offensive line in bubble because sure. Every year they seem to be the one right as we're getting across the finish line. It's suddenly someone's finger got caught in a face mask and he's out for a month.
That would be fun too, to try to see Jared Goff have to start behind a less than ideal.
That becomes the other problem, right? It's do you really?
No, but
do you really want Colby Sorsdal protecting Jared Goff on the edge, or do you really want Dan Skipper or I keep forgetting the next left tackle.
Yeah.
You certainly don't want Giovanni Manu, who,
Yeah.
to his credit, improved this week. We didn't really talk about him, but he improved this week. Maybe my take is just defensive starters. I'm cool with the offense. Like,
okay,
offense is gonna be fine. Although a JMO preseason touchdown.
I would like to see Hendon Hooker throw it to Jamison Williams.
Okay.
I would like to see that.
Yeah,
that would be very fun. Wouldn't you guys all love that? You, the podcast listener, Ryan, wouldn't you all love to see Hendon Hooker just uncorked like a 50-yarder?
Yes.
And that leads me to my big thing. It's preseason for Lions fans too, and I hope they show up real damn well at Ford Field.
I think they will. They were showing up in training camp. They were loud at training camp.
Oh yeah. You only get one preseason game. Both these have been on the road. And I'm tired of watching away team broadcasts on NFL Network. It's time. I want some Lions home cooking here.
But really quick, it was hilarious to me today that the Lions posted Hendon Hooker highlights, and there must be some sort of thing where they have to take the national broadcast cut of it. And so for his first 4 highlights, it's just Patrick Mahomes in his Kermit voice talking over the action.
Well, we're not calling him Kermit. We can let the Raiders go kill themselves that way, okay?
There are no puppets here.
None. Patrick, you can look at us. We got no puppets.
The only puppets are the access journalism we get.
Yeah, that's right. All right, we're wrapping up here. Again, we'll see you on Sunday after preseason game 3. That'll be a rough one because we'll talk off the air about it because we need to figure out when the final 53s will come down
very quickly after our podcast. So we might have to do like an emergency quick podcast. No, they're going to come down on Monday, I think. We'll figure it out. But I think we need to have some sort of podcast audio between the end of the preseason game and before cuts come down, which might be a very short period of time.
And we'll have our full preseason preview. I mean, we'll have our full season preview coming after that. We're also getting a new offering coming. I will have a mini podcast, maybe announcing it when we do settle that up. I have to go recruit some friends and everything, but yeah, we have college football next Saturday, Ryan.
Ohio State versus Akron. Do you know what the spread is for week 1?
Oh, I wasn't talking about that game. I was talking about the game in Ireland.
Oh, I'm excited for college football, so I'm jazzed for next Saturday.
Oh, but Ohio State Akron, let me think. Minus 35.5.
50. Minus 50.
Good Lord. Good Lord.
A 50-point spread.
Well, I will be rooting for my favorite to win the Big Ten, Oregon.
That's not right. Don't say that.
You know what's not right? We've had some weird realignments in college football. The one that struck me, and I didn't even know they were in the Atlantic Coast Conference. SMU.
Oh, yeah. I saw a segment where...
Are we still in the podcast, by the way?
Yes.
I think we are.
Okay.
I'm allowed to talk about college football.
Okay, sure. Go for it. Sorry. SMU. Continue.
No, that was it. That's okay. All. Just
smash cut takeaway to John Cena.
Speaking of things we haven't done forever, I'm Chris Perfett at Chris Perfett on Twitter, where I will be talking about college football and other things besides Lions because I am a multifaceted individual. Jeremy Reisman at Detroit Online.
I'm not multifaceted. I am Detroit Lions singularity.
You're not. You will only tune into Michigan around November. You will act like you're coming in for the first time, and that's only if they probably only have one or less wins on that.
Wake me up in the Big Ten championship.
That will not be featuring Michigan. And Ryan Matthews at Ryan_POD, who will be breaking down and betting on the entire NBA schedule.
No comment.
We'll see you Starside.
Recording stopped.
Someone was telling me the other day they kind of miss when we had a lot more personality on the recorded part of the podcast. So I felt like just injecting a little bit back.
That's fine.
No. Listen. Hold up, real quick, because I'm seeing a few people saying I'm betraying USC. I'm not betraying USC. I expect USC's on that Sunday game against LSU, and damn well, I like nothing better in the world than to watch Brian Kelly get handed a fat fucking L.
Ooh.
I'm not abandoning fight on, but I am realistic that Oregon is probably underrated this year, even at 3. Like they have a fantastic program, and it makes me jealous.
Want to answer a couple questions here that I saw come in late. Will you guys be completing all the Movember achievements sometime soon? Yes. I'm starting to think maybe that should be part of the Movember festivities. Like,
yeah.
Maybe we do a Hot One stream during Movember.
Yeah. Well, now that we're back to, I do owe a cooking stream at some point as well, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
But that's going to take, I'm going to need to like rearrange my computer and like my cameras and set up so I can actually get like a shot of my kitchen, which is clear like 15 feet on the other side of here. So like, it's going to take me some time to set that up, but
we'll make it happen.
Yeah, we'll make stuff happen.
Someone also asked, do I think it's likely that starters play on Saturday? And I don't have a great answer for you on that. I will say it seemed like Dan Campbell was considering it this past week. And then the injury stuff happened and he pulled back. So I would say there's a chance. If it happens, though, I don't think it's... I think it's tougher for the offense. It's tougher for me seeing a good reason to justify the offense being out there. Because you know it's going to be pretty darn good. You know your offensive line is the engine under the hood, and you don't want to necessarily jeopardize that. You certainly don't want to jeopardize losing Jared Goff, and I think Jared Goff is playing fine right now based on what I've seen in training camp. So,
plus 5,000 to win MVP. Good value there, Ryan.
Jared Goff?
Yeah, plus 5,000 to win MVP.
Yeah. So I got to ask you guys a question about some gambling that I'm seeing from people lately.
Oh, no.
Okay.
It's a very interesting strategy.
Mm-hmm.
The emotional hedge. I've seen so many people placing like Lions under 9.5 wins or Pistons under 25.5 wins. And it's like, if they do worse than I'm hoping for them to be, then at least I'm making money out of my misery. The emotional hedge is a very, very interesting tactic. I don't have a firm stance on it. I'm interested to hear what you guys think.
Well, it all goes back to my primary stance, which is don't bet on sports.
Okay.
But if I want to play...
Are we supposed to have fun?
Sports aren't fun?
Eh.
What? You co-host a Detroit Lions podcast, and you just shrugged at sports?
I just want actual football back.
I don't have a hard stance here. In general, I'm kind of against it, because I don't think an extra $30 in my pocket is going to make me feel better about the Lions missing the playoffs.
No.
What can you buy with $30? A lot of Ben & Jerry's ice cream. That can make you feel better.
Great.
I think we talked about this. I think we talked about this, but my idea of making myself feel better after the Lions lost in the NFC Championship for the only like the second time in my life was to go out and buy a new car. So I don't think $30 is going to do much for me.
That sounds like a
Lions
crisis.
Blood does have a point, though. You could buy a lot of beef jerky.
You could.
That might
especially
make
with
me feel better.
POD 15 or 20.
Especially if while making that purchase, I could like support people that I appreciate.
Wow. Paying it forward. How nonchalant of you.
I'm just not a big believer. So I guess if I'm going to go either way, like I can understand the emotional hedge a bit better than like gambling on your own team. But I also feel like emotional hedging on your team is gambling on your own team in a way. I can't quite describe it in my head. Well,
like here, imagine this scenario. Let's wind it back to 2020 2023, and let's say, okay, Lions in the NFC champ. Actually, let's just pretend they're in the NFC championship in 2024. I've seen a lot of people justify the emotional hedge being like, let's say I put $500 on the Lions to lose the NFC championship game, but then they make the Super Bowl. Would I pay $500 to see the Lions in the Super Bowl? Yeah, absolutely. I'm just like, that's not how that works. Now you've spent $500 that you could have spent on Super Bowl tickets.
We're doing this thing they do all the time where like a long shot team is in a position to go to a final or win a final game, and it's always like, oh, they've had a future on this team. The book's offering them a chance to cash out, Ryan. They got to take the cash out. You got to walk away with the money, right? You're not just going to be a fan to the end. You got to walk away with the money.
Dude, how people, okay, so to that point, Chris, there was somebody that I was following along the way who had an OKC Thunder, like it was the last leg of a multi-championship parlay. How do you wake up for work on a Tuesday when you know that like the Mavericks Thunder playoff game is like tonight, and like if they win, your ticket's going to increase in value. If they lose, it could crater. And it's like, no, there's no way. Like in a 7-game series where like your ticket is either appreciating or depreciating in value, like depending on how that game turns out, like how can you live that life, Howard Ratner?
I was going to say, I now work with way too many guys who like depend upon their gambling living. I mean, their gambling income as a living, an actual professional living, that I could not do that anymore.
I just don't believe that there are sharps out there. I don't know.
I do. I work with them.
Well, tell them, give them my phone number, will you?
I think Bill Krakenberger would actually love to talk to you. Bill's a very Philadelphia guy.
I'd be interested to talk to this fellow. Did we talk about this on the podcast? Have you seen that there's a third party site called, I think it's like either like Pick Swap or Prop Swap or something like that, where like you can buy other people's tickets. Like, oh, you had a future for Paul Skeens at the beginning of the season, and you put some money on him to win Cy Young, and now it's worth this much. Like,
that's just a way for the sports book to guarantee they're getting money.
Well, no.
I mean, they already wrote the ticket.
Yeah, the sports book isn't getting it. So like it's a third party site. So it's like, I have a future that the Lions are going to win the Super Bowl. Right. They're in the Super Bowl now. My ticket is worth so much, right? Like I could cash out, or I can put it on this auction site where somebody.
So cash out is still an
someone
option.
else. Someone else assumes the risk.
I thought this was replacing the cash out, which is why I would think that. What?
It's even nastier. It's like you have people buying speculative things like sports tickets.
I mean, if we're being honest, how different is that than some options? No, but like that's something that's been options in the stock. That's a stock market. That's been a stock market thing forever. It's just it's with a stock
one
instead
of the most corrupt things that runs this country.
I understand, but it's also something that our entire economy is based upon.
Yeah, which is why I say we're doomed.
However, I guess this is my way of trying to introduce another topic in a roundabout way, where I was going to say to Ryan,
you guys don't want to talk about gambling anymore?
No, it's gambling. We are starting to veer into Notre Dame swimming territory right now.
What?
Did you not see that story?
I heard about this.
Okay, so basically the Notre Dame men's swimming team was running an internal sports book. Not because you can't bet on NCAA swimming. Who fucking writes bets for that besides like maybe Bovada? But they ran their own book where they were betting on each other's like times over and under. Long story short, Notre Dame men's swimming is no longer a program for an entire year.
Jeez.
They nuked it. Not something they would ever do to Notre Dame football, but this is kind of this is a Cleveland State example, right? Like if you want to punish UNC, you go after Cleveland State. Notre Dame swimming is Cleveland State. You can annihilate them. But you want to talk about doomed. You want to talk about gambling.
You rip open a can of worms and you're surprised to see that there are worms everywhere.
But it has nothing to do with the books, is I guess my point.
But it also, I mean, sports betting has become incredibly normalized, which is why they probably thought they weren't doing anything crazy. And
but also, guys back in my college always had books they were running with each other too. It is kind of novel, but at the same time, it's also an old tale too.
I ran a book on my floor at Ferris for the semester that I was there before I decided I didn't want to be there anymore. But that would have been the.
Hold on, before you continue, have the statute of limitations expired? I'm kidding.
I don't think there's any paper trail. There's nothing incriminating.
You just admitted publicly.
I mean,
this is an entertainment podcast, not necessarily the truth.
Oh my gosh. Pat McAfee.
He's currently playing a character. Ryan Matthews is currently playing a character called Bovada King 69.
That's right. There it is.
In this very hypothetical situation where I ran a sports book on the third floor of, man, I forget what the residence hall was called. Anyways, it was the 2009 season. I remember being in the dining hall when Stafford had the shoulder injury against the Browns. And scored that touchdown. Oh man, that was so long ago.
15 years.
That was long ago.
Likewise, in a similar situation, I remember living in Savannah, Georgia, and going nuts over Stafford, the fake spike touchdown against the Cowboys, wearing my Lions shirt the next day, and I was at like a bookstore or something, and the guy behind the counter saw me and just wanted nonstop to talk about that Stafford.
Careful! We can't go down Stafford memory lane here. We're 3 weeks away from playing the man.
I saw, of all things,
like literally right now. By the way, 3 weeks from literally right now.
Sorry. But real quick on the Stafford thing, I saw an ad because like Stafford didn't really do a bunch of ads when he was with the Lions besides that one Monday Night Football ad. You know, it's my new shirt.
He did a lot of
Sleep
local,
number.
but not a lot of national.
It's not even Sleep Number. This is actually more funny. I think I wrote a post about it. I don't remember what I was watching, but I saw an ad for him for like a online trust and will lawyer writing company.
Is he that old? He's doing will commercials?
I don't know, but I mean that's a little. I guess it's a little grim if you want to take it.
My 4 girls are taken care of.
He's just worried about coming back to Ford Field. What happened last time?
That's right.
But it just felt like a very appropriate thing for Stafford to be doing. It's just very bland and
when
white.
They came for my kids, I said nothing.
Kelly Stafford.
Kelly was in the ad too. That was the thing that
she
I wrote
was in
down.
the Sleep
Kelly
Number
was
one
right
too.
Oh my!
She was in the Sleep Number
Is she
one too.
tied to everything he does now? She's gonna show up in the Little Caesars commercials now.
She's very much taken on the LA personality if she didn't already have it already, right? Like she's.
I think she had that DNA just waiting to be activated. Oh, yeah, I just
put her and Blake Lively on a podcast together. That'd be fun.
I saw the two work in hospice. It's never too early to write. Well, listen, Caitlin, I can't say anything because I'm currently like part of something I'm getting from my grandfather's estate does require that I have a will. So I'm hitting that vein soon. Trust me.
We're all old now. You guys started listening to us. We were all in our 20s. Ryan was in his teens, but we were all in our 20s.
Wait. Oh, God, I was in my 20s. Oh, fuck.
Yeah. We all technically were. Were you in your teens? You weren't literally in your teens, though, right? Okay.
No. But
you were kind of close.
I had been...
That was just a joke that we did with Ryan.
I had been legally allowed to consume alcohol for a year, I think. I was either 22 or 23.
I was going to say, hold up. 2015 wasn't the year you really started drinking on the podcast, though. It was the next year. And Punta Cana.
It's all kind of a blur.
That's what happens.
It's just a blur of room service, chicken tendies, and El Presidente. And Mario Cuts.
How many people... Cash out.
Oh, God.
That's your...
Do I...
Yep. 17 cents, baby.
I've gained 17 cents. The line. I have moved the line. I have moved the line.
That'll pay for. That's. I mean, you basically just got 2 empty cans you picked up on the sidewalk.
Not worth it. I
Don't-
want the
don't squander
$605
that.
for when he does it. You know how many cans of 605 cans? It's a lot.
I have 2 trash bags full of cans right now. I have to take to the recycle center. Don't remind me.
I'm curious. We have how many people? We have 121 on Twitch and 214 on YouTube.
Thank you, YouTube, by the way. I've been trying to keep an eye on YouTube.
YouTube's been killing it in
Yeah.
terms of both
Yeah.
the comments and the population over there.
They're having a good conversation right now. We don't really get a lot of questions from you guys, but rest assured, we are watching.
A lot of times they're just having their own discussion, which is fine.
That's fine. That's perfectly
and
fine.
Sometimes I like reading it.
I sometimes weigh in on stuff over there too because I do have chat up. But
I do as well. But I'm curious as to how many people, when you say the words El Presidente, have any idea what that means in relation to the podcast. I have to
yeah.
imagine it's
when
under,
Ryan
under
says
5.
when Ryan says Mario music.
I
Play
honestly,
my music.
I honestly think it's under 5.
Mario
Mario 2 music.
It was
is
Mario 2, yeah.
great. I love the Mario 2 music.
I mean, how many of you know me like screaming "I got you nachos" means? I got you chicken tenders.
Look, I got you nachos. I think my best part of that supercut was you getting up to order more room service when your first set of room service was still on the way.
I mean, the Honolulu blue Kool-Aid was flowing because I had the recipe from you, Chris, and they had like a swim up bar, and it's like, okay, well, yeah, I can be here for 8 hours. That's cool.
Sean Orphy on YouTube says, I remember the El Presidente episode from the vacation.
Oh my
That is
God.
the first person on Twitch
yeah.
or YouTube who is
Yeah.
correctly.
Well, I do think what is it? Erwin did say he has been watching you guys for way too long. So I think he knew what we were talking about, but didn't actually say it.
It's crazy
Oh my
to think
God.
about that. How different of people we are. We're
For
all
God's sakes.
living in different places than we were at that time.
I swapped places with you.
You
We
did.
literally swapped places. You were in Van Nuys,
Sure.
and we had 6 months together. And I'm like, I'm going to actually have someone to go out and drink with here. And you're like, yeah, I'm out to Michigan.
You
I'm
were the
like,
reason too.
Yeah, I know. You had someone else to be POD West.
I couldn't.
Oh, good.
I was just gonna say I couldn't have Ryan and Alex stealing my credentials anymore.
Oh,
You
Steve.
never gave it to me. Hold up. What's this? So wait, you could have, if I stayed, you would have kept giving me credentials? You would have given me
No,
credentials?
I moved back because I wanted to take the credentials.
So all I ever got to do was Taste of the Lions.
That's on you.
I know.
If
Hey,
you're-
I always have that.
Wait,
because
did
of
you
that-
get credentialed for the Rams game?
No,
Yes.
the Chargers game.
Chargers.
Chargers
was-
game, yeah.
But Jeremy was there.
Yeah, I got you the credential. You're welcome.
No.
Imagine how much better that is and
Thank
being
you,
lonely
thank you.
and just being the only POD person there.
You would have just been on Rob Parker's shoulder the entire time.
Rob Parker was too busy at NBC at the time, getting ready for what the hell they call their show. I don't know either way.
Ooh, the Facebook Live era. We're just going down the rabbit
Oh
hole.
my
of,
God.
Mm.
Do you remember when we tried doing Facebook Live when we were at the draft in Philadelphia?
kind of, yeah.
That was a disaster.
That was a mess. Because remember, it was day one of the draft, and we
Yeah.
walked back before they even. I think we were walking back, and they announced the Myles Garrett pick. We were just like, we have no interest in being down here.
I
It's
know,
so
but
much
we got
better to
back-
have a
we got-
TV
I-
and
well-
internet.
I have 2 memories from that. Number one, we couldn't get internet at all for we couldn't get 5G at all for Facebook Live when we were over there, so that's why we walked back. Number 2 is I remember all of our reactions when we saw the Bears trade up for Mitchell Trubisky. Number
One spot.
3
Trade up one
is
spot.
Number 3 is I was still doing the spots with Toledo Radio 106.5 The Ticket. And I remember doing the call, talking about it, and you were so charged about something the Browns had done, you actually took the phone from me to talk with the host about the Browns draft. Because that's part of Toledo radio, talk about both the Lions and the Browns.
I don't know if that would have aged well because that was the. Oh no, that's fine. That's
That was
fine.
the Myles Garrett draft. It was the Myles Garrett draft. So
It was. Hold on, I had to panic that because there was Deshaun Watson got drafted that draft, but it was obviously Houston.
by Houston, yeah.
I almost scared myself a little bit there.
You almost scared yourself that someone was going to pull receipts 8 years later from a
Had no clue that he
my
was.
sub 100 market sports talk radio station.
Oh boy, yeah.
All right, well, I appreciate you all indulging us on that trip down memory lane. I do have some alerts to get to, and then I think we should probably get out of here relatively quickly.
Yeah.
Just because it is.
Hold on,
9:30.
someone else. Jay-Z on YouTube. I do miss the summer top 10 list episodes.
The list cast.
The list cast.
The list cast that we finally, I think, realized we were maybe a little bit in over our head when we were listing Hunter Henry.
I think after Hunter Henry, we all just kind of called it a wrap at that point.
Hunter Henry is part of podcast lore.
It's true. It's true. The one time I ever made a mistake.
I made the same mistake as you, though.
It's true.
I'm just saying.
All right, let me get to some of these. Some of these alerts are almost an hour old, so I want to make sure we get to it. Woodchuck under 100 bits says, I can't wait to watch the Lions win the Super Bowl with my newborn son this year. Twitch babies turn into real babies. That's what we do here. We get the libido going.
Oh God.
JT Sam with 10 bits, I should say, offered a clip. Let me play it on a tab off stream before I play it on stream.
For God's sakes, like how many?
That's the fun. It's fun.
I-
Let's crap our pants. It's fun.
We have. For God's sake.
It's crap our pants clip that has been made. Good job, JT Sam. JT Sam also subscribed for 25 months. Says to commemorate 25 months. Here's a POD clip. Oh, another clip. I will open that up as well. I think I saw the name of this one, so let's throw it on the screen. Oh, look at that mustache. Hold on, you guys can't see it. This is Eric and I in a post game. Terribly true.
I did.
Yeah,
I was furious.
You're a salty little bitch.
Where is that?
Wow.
When was that?
That must have been, if I'm not mistaken, based on where I'm at, I think this was after the Vikings clinching game, where I called Eric a salty little bitch, and I don't remember the context to it. A clip show? Should we just do a clip show episode of a podcast?
Do I need to do a scraps again?
The greatest hits, like when you don't have a new episode.
Oh my God.
A smash cut of all the really good scenes.
I
from
am
the show.
not organized at all for a greatest hits scraps.
Where was I? Your boy Maroc, 28 months subscribed channel says, "Hey Ryan, did you see behind the back pass by Patrick Mahomes?"
I messaged your boy Maroc back and said you've been warned.
Oh, okay.
Tell you what. Now that I'm going back a bit to that. We are coming up on year 10 next year. There will be I will go back through everything and put together a massive best of series of scraps if I can.
Nice. Wait, did it?
If we're still around.
Oh, I see what happened. Everyone's like, we didn't get to actually see the clip. It's because I did the wrong monitor.
It isn't. This is year 10, right?
9.
I did.
It was
I
2015.
was furious.
You're a salty little bitch.
Mhm.
Terribly true.
I did.
15,
That is
16,
my
17,
mustache has
18,
this.
19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's been 9 years. We're entering year 10. I think that's right.
Yeah, this is year 10. A
I don't think
decade
that's how it works.
of dominance.
What do you mean that's not how it works?
No, I don't.
What would you call the first year that we do that? Would it be year 0 or year 1?
Year 1.
Okay. So do the finger thing again.
1, 2, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Shut the fuck up. It's not year 10. I refuse to, because then that means I actually have to do that.
Community did do the best clip show thing, which was they created a show that looked like a clip show, but all the throwbacks to old episodes were new clips that never actually happened on the show. Very fun. Go see Community if you haven't already. No longer on Netflix, probably on Dumb Peacock.
Dumb Peacock.
Yeah, it's a parody of Peacock. Like
Is it free?
Like Dumb Starbucks. It has to be free. Because it's an art.
It would be year 0. It would be year 0. I'm
art.
not letting this go. This has not been our 10 years.
Chris, I'm telling you that it's how math works.
I'm telling you, don't fucking confuse me.
The podcast is 9 years old.
It will turn 10 as soon as we get back to the date of the first episode. When was the
Yes.
first episode? I have a feeling
2015.
that we talked about Zach Zenner on it.
We did, and I don't want to ever talk about Zach Zenner again. That was how I got into trouble for so long.
So we were talking about Derry Sanders during the preseason. So we're there.
No, but we're still 9 years old. We are just going on our 10th year.
We're turning 10. Yeah.
No. We're turning 10 next year.
No. We turned 10 the date that we reached the date from 2014. If you're born in 1991 and shit.
I turned 10. I turned 10
we're
in
confusing each other.
You're the high school teacher.
No, I'm fine. Hold on. 90. No.
No.
It's still
No.
our 10th year, but we are 9 years old.
Right. Yes.
TOD cast will turn
Yes.
10 next year.
Correct.
The same thing as if you're born in 1991 and then in 2000, when in 2000 you are starting your 10th year, but you haven't gotten there yet because you're 9.
Someone needs to clip this because this is part of what's going to have to go in.
This is
Please,
like
no,
me. This is like me explaining squares.
I don't miss Teddy's birthday. Shut up. Also, language arts teacher. So
All right, let me get through the rest of these alerts real quick. Duck Lion, thank you for the 20 months. Says, as an Oregon alum, I welcome Chris to the family.
It's a temporary alliance because I've heard way too many people being like, they're not these West Coast people. They won't be able to handle Midwest winters. I would like them to shut the fuck up.
as MJ Kimball points out, it's the decades problem
Yeah.
Sure.
because a decade is from 0 to 9.
Yeah. Boof Gertz. Have I said your name before? Have you changed your name? If not, I enjoy saying your name, and I want you to know that. 13 months subscribed to the channel. El Gato Diablo, the devil cat. 22 months says, I can taste Lions football, and it tastes like kneecaps. Captain James Kirk with a bunch of bits. Throw in some clips. We'll watch the 2 more clips, and then we'll get out of here.
Did you see the sign in Kansas City? I thought it was a pretty good one. It was something along the lines of like, I've had the barbecue in
go
KC.
to the
I prefer kneecaps.
Hmm.
There's someone who had that in the end zone.
At least it's a new way to take on the kneecap stuff, right? That's what we've been looking for.
Plus, it's putting down Kansas City barbecue.
Oh, I think I know what this is. So this came from our Cameron Sutton situation podcast
Big man
with me and Chris.
To go to the ownership.
Chris, do you know what this clip is going to be? I was in Florida at the time. I'm pretty sure I know what this clip is going to be.
Oh, hold on. Let me turn on the audio so I can hear it. Go ahead.
Who in chat knows what this is going to be before I play it? I'm pretty sure I do, and it might involve pronunciation of a certain term.
Oh no! To go to the ownership meetings, big man is going in big places and going to steal all the whores' divorce.
There it
Did I even
is.
say that right?
No.
Not even. How am I supposed to say that? Come on.
Oh,
tell
right.
Me.
Yes,
Tell me.
yes.
That's one of those
Hors
hors
d'oeuvres.
d'oeuvres. Really? That's how you spell hors d'oeuvres? I almost got in trouble with another French
It's
word
not
the other
hors
day.
divorce.
I thought hors d'oeuvres
Chris
was a
just
different
saying,
one. Oh my
I
God.
had
Okay.
never seen that clip,
You
by
know
the
what's
way.
not an hors d'oeuvre is the righteous felon craft jerk.
Dude, just Jeremy's face when he goes, no.
No. One more clip here from Captain James
Oh, I
Kirk.
hate it.
Let's see what this one is.
Or the Lions as a
Oh, this one is just called Cancel, Cancel, Cancel. Recently, because it has the newer layout. Ryan's got his jokes up here. Let's see what
or
this
the Lions as a big random Brit adopting Florida State gave me my dose of what.
Oh, shit. Cancel, cancel, cancel. Ah, shit. No. Oops. I made an uh-oh.
Again, we didn't get any of this because Jeremy was gone.
Are you guys?
Yeah,
all right.
I didn't see
I
this
messed
at
up
all.
big. Hold on. I didn't know that I was still live at this point because
My chat is gone. Hold on.
I'm gonna save this. I'm gonna save this all.
God.
Yeah.
Or the
and
Lions.
So I was trying to close out of some background programs or something like that, and I had actually accidentally hit restart my computer.
I will say this. I'm pretty sure as long as we've done Twitch, this has basically been my only background. Because I'm thinking about all the other places I've lived in since we've been doing POD.
Wow, that's true, huh? Is that
And yet
true?
I think I've been living in this apartment ever since we started doing live streaming.
Really?
Yeah.
That feels like there's no way that's true.
That what's true.
How long have you been there?
I've been living in this apartment since 2019. So
Were
Yeah.
you there like when we? Oh, yeah. I was gonna say when
Yeah.
Stafford stuff came down. That was in 2021.
yeah. Yeah.
Damn.
Because we were doing a lot of them, we were recording like Skype. We were like using tricks to record the audio off of Skype.
Yeah. I guess I've only
the
been in
longest
2
time.
spots, but yeah, that's crazy.
Remember
Yeah,
Craig?
Ryan's. Oh, Craig. Yeah. And Giarch.
Jerk. All right.
Yeah.
You guys aren't paying for a clip show.
I feel like they kind of are. We still have 110 people.
That's true. I mean, if you want to continue to donate with clips, I guess that's okay. But
The good news is I have a hard drive full of everything. It might be some of the edited stuff, so it's not tons of non sequitur, but I do know I have plenty of scraps saved as well.
Laser Mouse, I don't appreciate your tone.
for men in our 20s and 30s, I'm just gonna pretend we're still there. 6 years is kind of a long. When's the last time I've stayed in the same place for 6 years?
Yeah. No,
mean,
it's
part
also
of it-
it's also Laser Mouse poking fun at my inability and Chris's inability
Oh.
to count.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
I'm seeing.
Since
that went over
2019,
my head.
man, that's like 6 years.
In your 20s, though, I think staying anywhere 6 years. I know we're not. None of us are in our 20s
No,
anymore.
I would have been 20 or so. I would have been in my 20s. No, but I think part of it is like I've still kept this job for a while, and my rent's only gone up once. So, which for LA is a goddamn miracle.
Yeah, that's great.
I don't think I lived in a place where I got the same rate from 1 year lease to the next.
You got screwed. By the way, awesome new feature on Twitch is that you can bigify an emote, and Nixus did it with the Prida Cabinda.
Oh God,
And it's just-
Cabinda.
Oh, it's so good.
It's unfortunately it's not big on the chat that appears on our screen.
True.
Which is very disappointing. There needs to be a way for that. That needs to be big on our live chat.
Now we just need whoever the new fullback is to do the same thing so we can update. All right, another 5 bits from Captain James Kirk. Here we go.
Oh God, what is this?
Hold on. Oh, I'm not liking the way this is going right now. Why aren't we full screen? Oh boy.
Oh no.
Listen, they're not.
Oh, what are you doing?
What are we doing? What are we doing?
What do we do? Why are you rubbing
We're
your
gonna
leg?
get banned off
Don't-
Twitch.
Yeah, dude, this
You
is
don't
just
like
the
this?
start. No, people are
No,
people
no.
are
Hold on,
pulling
I'm
back
not-
their
I'm
subscriptions.
All
not
right,
sure
all
if
right.
this
We're,
is
we're
high
dropping
enough
we're
for
dropping
people to see it.
viewership
Hold
right
on.
now. Please
Hold
stop.
on, I need to make sure I'm high enough so everyone can see.
Don't
'em.
point your
Is this
microphone
when
at
you
your
waxed
junk.
your
leg.
The numbers are plummeting.
I don't even remember
Terms of
this.
service. Terms of service.
Oh man, it's fun. Like Chris and I, just two very earnest. What are you doing?
Before the
Like-
dread set in.
Like no, no, you know.
This is a good reminder because Captain James Kirk is pulling this all from our Discord. Our Discord.
Oh,
It's
God,
not really.
that's right.
But if you
The
ever
Lions Tiki Bar, yeah.
if you ever want to join another Lions community, if you're into Discord, you can hit ! Discord in our chat. I'm not sure if it's set up on YouTube, but we do have a Discord where you can share your favorite podcast moments. You can talk about some of the topics that we brought
There's
up on
also-
the podcast, and there's also channels for a bunch of other stuff. Fantasy
Yeah, there.
leagues, travel plans, just want to talk Lions,
I
film
probably have
sessions,
to
all
do
that sort of
one
stuff.
I have to still gather. I can't run both this year. There is I just bumped it, but there is a clips thread that GT Sam started a
Oh,
while ago too, with stuff. So I bumped that up. Some threads kind of gets hidden every now and then, but it's under the podcast discussion channel, where a lot of this is posted. And there's some clips that are like that are pinned, including the Hors d'Ivoire.
all right. We got another clip.
It's really good.
This is. I don't
Oh,
even
this is
remember this
old.
era of stream look.
So hold on.
Yeah.
I think here's how I can tell the passage of time, because I've only been in here. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm not playing it. Go ahead. Keep talking.
Since I've only lived in one place, but I've gone through about 4 different pairs of headphones. So I
Okay.
can absolutely tell this is one of the earlier ones because it's an old pair, and I know that part is breaking. And the bridge is starting to break at the top because they're on unevenly.
Stream's not frozen, everybody. This is a clip that we're about to play. I don't currently have a mustache that has dyed both gray and white.
That's an old layout too. Jeez.
Yeah.
I don't live in that house anymore.
All right, let's play it.
Yeah.
It's before I was born.
Well, now we got to explain to people what Pride of Detroit means.
Pride.
So lions travel in these packs, but they call them prides. And Lions fans have pride in the city of Detroit.
Do they?
So it overlaps.
There you go. I don't remember that clip at all, but I enjoyed it. Good times.
Good times.
All right. I'm calling it.
Yeah.
I am very sweaty.
Sweaty doofus.
Wow.
How dare you?
Jeez, man.
Sports Turf Pro, I was channeling Matt Foley while I was
Yes.
doing that. I do remember. My Mahomesian era? What?
Someone on
Guys.
YouTube, I don't know why your username doesn't show up, but it says, how do you get over 200 people here? Do you talk about football every 30 minutes or something?
Yeah, kind of.
We do.
Yeah.
We've
Yeah,
reached
that's
the
pretty
end of the
much-
show.
That's the model. That's the model.
I'm going to assume you're asking this in earnest. So in case you haven't been here before, we stream Lions content. We have a podcast. What we do is we record the first segment as soon as we go live, which usually lasts us 20 to 30 minutes. We take some time in between to thank the people that are live. We have conversations that veer off between more Lions talk and things that are very much not Lions related. Then we come back, do another segment for another 20 to 30 minutes, and then we have a dismount in which, again, we thank some viewers. We talk about some Lions stuff. We talk about some non-Lions stuff. You happen to catch us at the very tail end. We've been live for 2.5 hours
Talking
now.
about the show. First off, this is kind of like, I like to tell people when we go live like this is kind of like our radio show.
Mhm.
We, unlike a lot of other podcasts, we do not stop. We record everything off the cuff. Not a lot gets edited because not a lot needs to get edited because Jeremy, Ryan, our goddamn professionals, and I work in the radio industry.
Stop it.
Hey.
And I would say too, if you want to see more Lions questions, you are free to ask those Lions questions to us.
Sure. Yeah.
We're interactive.
Everything in the break is up to you guys, essentially.
Yeah.
You direct the conversation, generally speaking.
The flow of traffic.
And
usually a
most
lot of
part.
that conversation is directed by Twitch because they ask us these kind of things. And Twitch happens to have been with us a lot longer than YouTube. And they tend to be asking us more about us because we are people behind this. And when you tune into a radio show, you want to know about the personalities as much as you want to know about them talking about sports.
yeah.
Just a fact of life.
And listen,
this is our community. This is our community. We're interested in you guys too.
I'll be completely clear. Most people that run sports podcasts don't do it this way, right? They do a tight show, they get in, they get out, and they're done. We found that an online community is hard to engage in, is hard to maximize all of the potential unless we're having these in-between breaks where we're just shooting shit, having fun.
Yeah. Maybe ignoring you for like a straight hour.
Right.
Like I don't want to do that. What's the point of going live then?
Yeah, then we would just record behind the scenes and do that. And I get like it's not for everybody. People while we're here, there are a lot of people that only want to hear us talk about Lions, and I get that. And if that's the case, I would probably recommend listening to the podcast instead of watching live. And if you do that, my feelings won't be hurt because we cut out all of the
eventually
in-between
we'll try
stuff.
to get some clips. We'll try to get some clips of regular season 2 and just throw those up too. But unfortunately for you guys, when I started the POD cast, I was really high up on like Scott Van Pelt radio show and Dan Levitard, and those are definitely shows that do not stick to the topic.
Yeah.
It's just kind of the spirit of the show.
And sometimes you do that and you get called out like Mina Kimes.
Listen, I
don't talk about a politician on my sports podcast. You should be ashamed of yourself, Mina Kimes.
I don't know if speaking of statute limitations, something that's come up at least 18 times on here. I don't know when it's past the statute limitations when I can say half the shit I want to say about Clay Travis. Like, there's so much I want to say about that asshole.
I would recommend maybe not saying it yet.
I know. I'm not doing anything, but as soon as I saw who was like saying something to her about this shit, I'm like, I know these people are disingenuous. They don't actually mean anything, and they are spiteful and hateful, have not actually accomplished any good in the world. They've accomplished things, but not anything I would call good in the eyes of the eternal Lord.
We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Cam James Kirk.
I'm getting mad. Okay. I'm getting mad on behalf
I'm sorry.
of
That was my fault. Cam James Kirk, 5 bits. Says I legitimately love you guys. LOL. Thank you for being back. Appreciate that. And then also says take my nickel as well with another 5 bits. Thank you, Cap James Kirk, and thank you for taking us down memory lane.
Ryan,
because I think we forget some of that stuff.
Did you just do the Japanese girl heart fingers thing?
Did I just co-op that?
This one? Do you do that?
Oh, is that okay?
I thought.
Yeah.
I think it's with specific fingers, but it's definitely. I don't know.
Oh,
what did you do?
Know.
Do it again.
I don't know. I did
like that.
Oh no, that you did. I thought you did something else. I thought you used like these fingers. Whatever. I'm not doing it. We'll get clipped
This one.
Again.
This one's different.
Oh,
yes,
that one is different.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can do that one.
We should really stop being live.
There is like an AI thing now that if we do a certain shape.
Have you seen the trend that's going on in Japan?
No.
Okay. It's a TikTok trend where like they're making fun of like the AI generative images that like they take like a still image and then they just build like an entire thing out of it. So like it's like they're there 1 second and then somebody like just like will pull out like a bowl of berries and then it's like
they've been doing that for a while because like I remember a lot of art early on of people like having anime characters eating ramen with their bare hands because AI image generation didn't know how to deal with like spoons and shit. Well, what's sad is McDonald's Japan. I don't know if you saw this, Ryan. You know, last year they had that really cool like animation with the family, the Halloween animations and everything.
I don't think I saw that.
Oh, it was very cute. If you should go look this up from last year, but now they actually put out an AI image thing, the same account, and everyone's just like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Oh, okay, that's cool.
No.
I gotta check out the original one.
Yeah, I'll find it and let me send it to you because it was incredibly cute. There were a couple of incredibly cute ones.
I dig it. Look what I'm doing right now.
Oh boy.
Oh,
Build that box. All right, we got to get out of here. I'm crazy
Now
sweaty
I'm
right
hungry.
now. And
why
Yeah.
are you so sweaty?
because I'm sitting in front of two gigantic lights and the air conditioning isn't on, and I closed all the windows because it was raining when we started. So I'm sweating. You guys can't see it, but I'm sweating. All right.
Sweat.
All right. Time to get out of here. Should we raid somebody? With the 100 people still watching on Twitch? It's our good friend Bearded Brother.
Blah, 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 blah.
Beard Blevins. He's still live. Let's go raid him. I don't know why he's live on a Sunday, but we're going to raid him because he's our friend. And he's a big Lions fan. And you guys probably already know him. Ryan didn't freeze. He's just...
Dang it.
Yeah, no. Nice try.
Oh, man.
Nice
I
try.
had not been blinking for so long.
He does that. So if you guys want to hang out on Twitch and still talk Lions football, I'm sure John Blevins will be more than happy to do so. I joined his little sports show the other day when he was at Lions Camp, recording live from Lions Camp. It was a lot of fun. But anyways, we will be back first bite at some point live because we're going to try to do that now. Make it live, and then you can see the replay on Pride Detroit Direct.
Make it live, or you can pay for 5. Are you doing the
No,
gun
no,
sound?
no. All right. See you guys later.
Let's go.
Bye.
You guys are worse than Italians saying goodbye.
That's racist. Why is it taking a while to rate? Okay. Rating
rated,
on
we
Twitch. Meanwhile, we're still live on YouTube.
Hi, YouTube.
And I'm just
I know
gonna
we're putting some of the
assume
people on
that I
YouTube
have-
to sleep.
All
Thank
right.
you, Ken McCain.
Bye, YouTube. Love you.